Welcome in, everyone. We've been following the Swan Boat Club accident since it occurred, and we are glad that we will be watching this trial together. Jury selection will begin on Monday, March the 3rd. So, as soon as they start to have feed from the courtroom, our channel will be there. In the meantime, if you've not been following the case, the following will completely catch you up from start to finish. Thank you for being here, and I hope you enjoy. So if you hear people in the background, I thought originally it was coming from the court gallery, but I don't know if all of it is. I think most of it's coming from the Zoom call. But listen to what's being said in the background, because that is actually, hey, Janie, good morning. That's actually people that have been affected by this that are giving in their 2 cents. So this is so tragic, and yeah, she's saying, Dred, her attorney is saying it was an accident because she had a seizure.
People of the State of Michigan versus Marshella Chidester. Chidester. Case number 241971FY. Names for the record.
Your Honor, Jeff Yorkie on behalf of the people.
Your Honor, Bill Colovis, P38434 on Ms. Chidester. Thank you.
The defendant is charged with count 1, homicide, second degree, maximum penalty, life or any term of years. A consecutive sentence may be imposed under MCL 769.36 for each death that resulted from the operating a motor vehicle.
Oh, I bet you're talking.
Resulted in operation of the vehicle, DNA upon arrest. Count 2, homicide, second degree, same maximum penalty. Count 3, operating while intoxicated causing death, maximum penalty 15 years and or $2,500 to $10,000 monetary sanction. Count 4, operating while intoxicated causing death, same penalty as count 3. Count 5, operating while intoxicated causing serious injury, maximum penalty up to 5 years and or $1,000 to $5,000 monetary sanction. Vehicle immobilization. How does the defendant take?
We stand mute, Your Honor.
Case has been assigned to Judge Brown.
Your Honor, the people are requesting a $1.5 million bond at this point, along with conditions. It is based, at least in part, on the fact that, as the court has already indicated, the defendant is facing 2 life sentences that could run consecutive to other offenses that are involved in this matter. In addition to that, we believe that the likelihood of conviction is extremely high here. We have ample video evidence showing exactly what happened during this incident. And finally, Judge, the defendant suffers from a very severe substance abuse issue, corroborated by friends and family members, and she creates a very high risk to the public. For all those reasons, we believe that a $1.5 million bond is in order in this particular case.
Your Honor, again, Bill Colovis on behalf of my client. Your Honor, I think the court has served in the judiciary for many years and understands and appreciates that at an arraignment, the client has not been found guilty. We don't have prejudgment penalties. What we do have here is somebody, when looking at bond, any favorable and unfavorable facts. The favorable facts are my client is 66 years of age. My client has no record whatsoever. In fact, she has never even received a traffic ticket of the 50 years of driving. She's better than I am. In 60 years on this earth, she's never had any traffic involvement. She's never had any law enforcement involvement. I think that adds a little credibility to her side of the table. In addition, she's owned her residence, which is about 400 feet from where this took place, for 40 years. She's retired from a position and was living a peaceful life with her husband in retirement. What the prosecutor fails to mention to the court is that she has a history, and even the neighbors in the news media has said that she drives like a little old lady when she drives. You got to drive around her. That in addition, that my client has a history of having seizures. And this history has lasted since last November. It started of an epileptic type seizure in her legs. In fact, that's that day she was treated for it. It's not like her to drive.
Drinking.
Yeah, exactly.
She was drinking.
If I may continue with all due respect from everyone, a search warrant was executed at the bar that was allegedly where she was at. The bar showed that she had one glass of wine 4 hours prior to 3 o'clock, between 11 and 12, and a bowl of chili. That was confirmed with a search warrant of what the receipt was. In addition, that no doctor told her not to drive. The doctor told her not to drive for a number of months, very few months, and then she could operate a vehicle. About a month prior to this accident, Your Honor, because I want the court, I'm not doing a trial today, but I want the court to know everything in setting the bond, that this is not a monster. It's horrible what happened. Absolutely horrible. I have 2 children. It's absolutely horrible. But some things we don't have control over. If I have a heart attack at my age, I don't have control over it if I'm operating a vehicle and hit somebody. So, Your Honor, the $1.5 million in the murder charge, I don't know where that's coming from, but they have to prove it. And respectfully, Your Honor, we would ask for $100,000 cash or surety, 10%. She can have, the court can order home confinement. Police have never been called to her home. She doesn't even have a speeding ticket if there's such a substance abuse at 66 years of age. So we're asking for home confinement along with $100,000, 10% cash or surety. In addition, she can have an alcohol monitor. Any violation whatsoever, bond revoked. But she gets medical treatment. Absolutely gets medical treatment. In fact, they have all the prescriptions she's on at the jail, which are numerous because of the paralysis she gets once in a while in her legs. And it's all documented. Now, I'll bring forward the medical records. So we're burning somebody at the stake by just craziness, just crazy words being that because there's been deaths, which is horrible, absolutely horrible. But we have to go back and say, how did it happen? If me, Bill Clovis, has a heart attack on the freeway and I hit somebody changing a tire, I can't be liable in today's society.
Yeah, but your ass wasn't drunk and you did purposely burn to the shit. So they're 2 different things.
Again, let me repeat. They did a search warrant and it showed 1 glass of wine 4 hours prior. Thank you, Judge.
Yeah, I respond, Judge. Please. Your Honor.
How do you keep going? Not hitting no brake or turn.
Because sometimes you have a seizure and your legs freezes up.
Your Honor, there is no indication whatsoever in any of the evidence that we have uncovered in this case that the defendant suffered from a seizure at the time of this incident. In fact, quite the opposite. A very long investigation has occurred. There was a preliminary breath test done, which indicated that her blood alcohol level was significantly over the legal limit. What's more is based on, she indicated herself that she had some seizure issues and she was on some medication and that she wasn't supposed to be drinking, but admitted that she had been drinking that day. So she is a danger to this community. And that is illustrated no clearer than the 2 dead children that she is directly responsible for. A $1.5 million bond in this case is a gift, and that's what I'm asking the court to consider.
How do you save the community
The
from?
rumors are that she drinks in her car in the parking lot.
Excuse me, rumors. Hopefully they don't have rumors on any of the people here today.
In the state of Michigan, if you have a seizure,
Your Honor, may I continue?
Yes.
Thank you.
she took my 2
I'm
grandbabies.
gonna start,
She
removing
almost killed
people
3 of
from the
mine on the
Zoom
same
if
day.
we keep getting this interruption.
I don't know if you can mute for right now. Your Honor, again, if it's the safety of the public, there's no history whatsoever. Number 2 is she can be put on an alcohol tether. Number 3 is she can be put in her home. If she violates her home to go get her mail, she can be picked up and put in without bond. We'll stipulate to that. So, the court's seen many, many people, thousands of people before the court, and it's seen criminal history. We don't even have traffic ticket. It's absolutely horrible, but we're not punishing somebody before they're convicted. Thank you.
Yes, she chose to drink, and those were my grandbabies.
Thank you. Your name,
She made
please?
that choice to go in that car. She chose to drink and drive, and she took my grandbaby from us.
Understood. Your name for the record, ma'am?
My name is Kathy Phillips, and I'm the grandmother of the 2 babies that were killed.
Thank you. Some factors I've considered in setting bond. She has no criminal history, identified criminal history, no incidents of non-appearance.
Your Honor, one of the victims does want to speak, address the court. She may.
She can join the council table. If we could start with your name, ma'am.
My name is Raquel Smothers. I am Mariah's sister. What he had said about getting injections in her legs for something, knowing that with or without drinking, you're still putting people in harm's way because with muscles and everything, you can't control something. Why operate a vehicle knowing you're taking medicine that drinking will affect it? I was there. I seen her. My daughter, my mom, my sister, my nephew from the opposite side of the family, my sister's 3 children. We were supposed to be planning a birthday party for Zane, not a funeral. Knowing you have medical conditions, you should never get behind a wheel whether you are drinking or not. Taking medications, they tell you not to drink, but she still chose to drink. She still chose to get into that vehicle. I will never look at the month of April the same ever again. My birthday was a few days prior. The babies were just at my house. My niece with her flawless curly hair loved to dance. My nephew, he always hated my truck was dirty. I cleaned my truck out just for him. He loved jujitsus. He loved cracking jokes. Eminem was his idol. They walked into that birthday party having a fun time. They were sitting at that table eating, and this woman crashed her car through this building, destroying all of our lives. Not just my family, everyone else that was in that building. My nephew and my sister are still fighting for their lives today. I had to be the one to tell my sister her babies were gone when they removed her ventilator yesterday. She said, "How am I supposed to live without my babies?" Nobody should ever have to go to a birthday party thinking that they're going to die. Medical history or not, every medication tells you not to drink. She knew it. She shouldn't have done it. I had to see my deceased niece and nephew. I had to see their very last moment before their car was removed. I seen it. And my sister can't decide what she wants. And then babies, I can tell you right now, cannot have an open casket. It's a horrible, dramatic thing. I cannot close my eyes at night without seeing the babies and what they look like. No, I'm done.
And she's a known drunk.
To her credit, she does have ties to the community. However,
Can I say something, Your Honor? I'm the brother of the father.
your name, please.
Nicholas Phillips.
All right. Go ahead.
This woman deliberately, without even hitting a break, destroyed my brother's life. Those was his baby. His little girl used to go to his basketball games. And now that little girl is not going to be able to go see it. Their father, because a woman claims to have high community ties to her community, want to drive and hit the gas even further when she got to that parking lot and destroyed multiple lives. My brother is in the hospital right now, praying that his little boy comes through, and he still got to tell his son that he lost his sister and brother. How is that right, or how is that even fair? How is it even justified? Because the woman saying that she got some type of medical issue. As my sister said, you take medicine for years. You're an adult. You could read the label. It says do not drink. And you can't sit here and tell me one drink that would do that. You can't. I'm a high educated man. You can't tell me that. And there's no justifying what she did to my family. There's none. This will never, ever be right. There's nothing in this world that anybody can sit here and say, well, she could say it was an accident. That was not an accident. I know what accidents look like. That happened all the time on a freeway. If she was not drunk as people claim it, her house is 3 houses away from what she did. Why didn't she just go home? Why did she? It's right there. 3 houses away from where she did that stuff that she did to my brother's family. 3 houses. Why did she go home?
Thank you.
So you as the defender, you should feel ashamed for even trying to stick up for only one drink. One drink don't do that, sir. And never will. Thank you, Your Honor.
Can I say something?
Your name, please?
Rosemary Stitt.
Go ahead.
I drove there. My 3 children were there. And whether you're having a seizure or not, that was intentional. You couldn't drive the way that those roads bend and the way that you drive in there. There is no way that that woman was not conscious in turning that vehicle. She aimed it right there, right at the bar, where probably her husband should have been sitting. I don't know what her intentions were, but I can tell you it was in purpose and it was intentional. You can tell. We all know it.
Thank you.
May I speak, Your Honor?
Your name, please?
My name is Joshua Stiff. So I'm a member of the boat club, and I've been a member for many years, and I'm familiar with Marshella. And during my 10 years of being a member of the boat club, and most of the time I've seen her, she's been highly intoxicated, and I've watched people try to walk her out the door dozens and dozens of times. And you know, one of the things that aren't brought up here is the fact that she hit a vehicle down the road and a tree down the road. And I believe that that it wasn't intentional, but I do believe that it was a situation where she was trying to flee and run from what she had just done down the road. She shouldn't have been driving. And everybody knew that, right? Everybody, you're a member of the boat club, you know this lady shouldn't be driving. And I believe she was fleeing that scene. And there's a speed bump before you enter the parking lot to the boat club, as well as like a runoff ditch that you got to pass over with your vehicle. We all drive 10 miles an hour through that area because of these, you know, and it's a narrow road. But I believe that she was fleeing from hitting the truck so that she wouldn't get caught drunk driving. And in doing so, hit the speed bump as well as the little ditch that's 30 feet past that and lost control of her vehicle. So I don't believe it's intentional, but I do believe that, and I know that she drinks a lot and she, you know, should never get behind the wheel. And if you're under that much medicine as her attorney states, then even one glass of wine could potentially, you know, do you like this. And not only that, is a lot of medications, you know, you're not supposed to drive on, right? So, you know, whether it's the alcohol or the medication, or it's neither, this lady should never be behind the wheel. We've watched her, you know, take baby steps to get out of the place because she could barely walk, right? Let alone get behind the wheel. And you know, for such a frail lady to cause such devastation in her car, I think that I think that she shouldn't be freed on bond because of this. You know, I believe that decades of her drunk driving that just caught up to her is what I believe, and decades of her driving under the influence of whether it be pills or alcohol. And I would point towards alcohol from my experience of knowing her.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. I went over some of the issues that impact my decision in setting bond. High on that list is the fact that she's facing 2 life sentences, 2 15-year sentences, and 4 5-year sentences. Therefore, I find reason bond to be $1.5 million with the following conditions. It will be reporting to pretrial services. The defendant is to appear for examination, arraignment, trial, sentence, and any time directed by any court, by any judgment issued by any court. Do not leave the state of Michigan without permission of the court. Do not commit any crime allowed on bond. Immediately notify the court in writing of any change of address or telephone number. No use of alcohol or any illegal controlled substances. Submit to substance abuse testing and monitoring, including a SCRAM tether and GPS tether. Do not purchase or possess a firearm or other dangerous weapon. Forfeit any passport and not operate a motor vehicle while on bond.
Your Honor, if I may. Thank you, Judge. The 1.5 million, will they be cash, surety, or 10%?
Cash or surety.
10% at all?
Um,
She has no history whatsoever, Your Honor.
Between her and the surety. I believe the surety would typically take 10% of that to post their guarantee of 1.5.
Okay. All right.
Wow. Those boat club witnesses that say they've been around her and seen her over the years, and did you hear what he said? That she had to be walked out to her car, or she had to be walked out several times because she was so intoxicated she couldn't even walk on her own. She's a drunk. So that's where I was wondering where they were getting all this information about her being a drunk, because a lot of times you only see people do that at home, and you don't really have witnesses around. But if she's like going to boat club all the time and drinking to where she can't even walk, that's huge. I want to know, they can say seizure all day long, but if she blew a blood above the limit, then that's a deal. It's a done deal for her. She's done. She did an interview a month ago. I don't know how I didn't catch this.
Well, tonight, a 7 exclusive. For the first time, we are hearing from the driver charged in the Swan Boat Club tragedy, Marshella Chidester, telling us her version of what happened the day she drove her SUV straight into that club. The surveillance video capturing the SUV heading toward the building before it crashed into a birthday party going inside. 2 young children, a brother and sister, were killed. Well, tonight, Chidester telling 7 News Detroit reporter Ruta Olsonida she does not remember what happened behind the wheel.
Why did you decide to sit down with us? I wanted to just let people know, that I'm so very, very disturbed about the situation, and I don't remember what happened. I can only say that I've been praying for everyone that's been injured.
The driver charged in the Swan Boat Club tragedy, 66-year-old Marshella Chidester, sat down with me at her home just feet from the boat club to discuss what happened behind the wheel. On April 20th, prosecutors say Marshella was drunk and drove her car into the boat club, killing siblings Zane and Alana Phillips, injuring over a dozen people who were all attending a children's birthday party. She's charged with second-degree murder and operating under the influence causing death. Marshella is a longtime member of the club.
I would never, ever do anything intentional. Never. I mean, that's just not me. And especially to a boat club that I love so much, and I have family and friends there.
Marshella claims she doesn't remember anything due to her medical conditions, which include neuropathy and heart problems. She also says she has a history of seizures, and her memory goes out during her episodes, which is what she says believes happened that day.
I think I had a seizure. I think that the same thing that my husband said that I did when I have a seizure is just go straight. And I think when I got in the car, that's what happened. I just had the seizure and probably put my foot on the accelerator and crashed into the building.
The prosecution disagrees as.
Okay, I want to go back a little bit here. She put her foot on the accelerator and she had a seizure. Lady, you're drunk. Just like everybody from the boat club who came forward and said they saw you all the time, wasted. You left the club wasted and had to be helped out of the building, driven home, walked home, whatever it was. You're an alcoholic, and you need to admit that you're an alcoholic because it's going to come out in court.
Foot on the accelerator and crashed into the building.
The prosecution disagrees, as made clear in her arraignment a few weeks ago.
There was a preliminary breath test done, which indicated that her blood alcohol level was significantly over the legal limit.
I have a perfect record. I don't even have a parking ticket. I don't have any kind of DUI or speeding ticket.
I wanted to
It's as if she's saying, perfect record, Letty, you just never gotten caught before now. And it's so tragic that this time involved deaths, and not just death of anyone, death of children, to make it even worse.
To ask why she got behind the wheel that day, about her alcohol use, but when I tried.
April 20th. Just tell me about your entire day and what you did.
But we're interrupted by her attorney, who says the truth will come out in court and that she cannot speak to things she doesn't remember.
I want strict facts.
Marshella posted her $1.5 million bond 3 weeks ago and remains at home with an ankle monitor. That's a point the family of the victims is furious about, and they are still dealing with the devastation of knowing they will never see their 2 children again.
We honestly still can't believe that she's still free.
So they're going to file a lawsuit even though.
And I'm Mike Duffy.
We
Begin tonight with the growing lawsuit in the horrifying crash that killed 2 kids at a birthday party in Monroe County. Thank you so much for joining us for 7 News Detroit at 6. I'm Carolyn Clifford.
And I'm Mike Duffy. Survivors are now suing the boat club in addition to the suspected drunk driver, saying the business is partly responsible for the tragedy.
This all comes as the suspect is out of jail on bond. The family previously telling us they are left with questions and feeling as if the system failed them.
7 News Detroit's Kimberly Craig has more on the victims for justice.
Attorneys for survivors of the deadly crash at the Swan Boat Club say not only was Marshella Chidester negligent that day, but also the boat club for not having barriers like these.
It was described as a war zone.
The attorney representing 8 people injured in the horrific crash at the Swan Boat Club releasing these pictures of the aftermath. It happened during a children's birthday party at the boat club when 66-year-old Marshella Chidester allegedly drove drunk into the building at a high rate of speed, killing 4-year-old Zane Phillips and his 8-year-old sister Alana.
Now we got birthdays coming up, and we still can't even spend it with them.
They originally thought that a bomb had been planted and blew up, that this was some type of terrorist attack.
Attorney John Marco had planned for some of those injured in the crash to speak at his press conference Wednesday, later saying it was just too much for them.
Some of them can't even get into a car right now because they are so traumatized from what happened. They can't leave their house.
Relatives of the children killed say their older brother Jaden still doesn't know that they're gone.
So he still don't know nothing. He's still in the hospital. He's doing somewhat better, but it's still some days to come.
Based on our investigation and what we've seen, this was a dangerous setup out at the Swan Boat Club.
And he says that's why not only is Marshella Chidester being sued, they've also added the Swan Boat Club as a defendant.
If you're going to put a building directly in proximity to a road like that, there has to be some type of protection or basic construction. Just look at the pictures of the way that this building was set up. It looks like it was made by some Boy Scouts.
He kind of sounds like he's reaching, I don't know. I almost feel like somebody just trying to make a name for himself because it's a high profile case.
Sir, please state your name and spell your name for the record.
My name is William Schmidt, WILLIAM SCHMIDT.
You may proceed, Mr. Ryan.
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Schmidt, where do you reside?
6288 Branshaw.
And where is that located in relationship to the Swan Boat Club?
I am directly next door to the Swan Boat Club on the west side.
Okay. And that's located in Newport, Michigan, County of Monroe?
Yes, it is.
Sir, were you home on April 20th of 2024?
Yes, I was.
Did something unusual occur that day?
Yes, I heard a large, what sounded like an explosion at the time.
Okay. You know about what time of day that was?
It was about 2 to 3 in the afternoon.
When you heard that noise, what did you do?
I assumed it was something going into the dumpster at the boat club because they're always throwing something in there, so you hear large bangs. I went outside to walk the dog, and that's when I noticed that there was a hole in the side of the boat club, and I went to check it out.
Okay. I went to check it out. What did you do specifically?
I walked over there, and I noticed it was a pretty bad scene, so I got out my cell phone, and I recorded it to get evidence for whatever the police needed. I know it's important to have those first moments. I didn't realize what I was getting into.
So you live directly next door, so you walk down the road that's the parking lot to the boat club?
Walked across my lawn.
Okay. And you entered how did you enter into the boat club?
I walked through the hole that Marshella drove through.
And you recorded this on your cell phone, you said?
I did. I started recording before I went through the hole because I wasn't sure what I was going to see. I didn't know at the time it was Marshella, my neighbor. I thought there were some other kids that drove a car similar to it. I thought maybe it was them. And so I wanted to make sure to get them in case they tried to run away or do something goofy.
Okay. Eventually, did you give that cell phone recording to law enforcement?
I did.
And did you have an opportunity to review that cell phone recording after you recorded it?
Yes, I watched it.
And was it a fair and accurate representation of what you saw in the Swan Boat Club that day?
I believe so.
Okay. Sir, you also have a video system, a surveillance system on your home, is that correct?
Yes, I do.
And how many cameras do you have? Roughly where are they placed?
I have 4 cameras. They're placed on basically all the corners of the house, so I can get a good view of everything going on the outside of the house.
You have one that faces your driveway?
I do.
And you also have one on the top of the house that faces the Boat Creek Park or the Swan Boat
Swan
parking
Boat
lot?
Club? Yes, I did.
Reflecting people are playing exhibit 1.
Everybody,
Oh gosh. Oh my gosh.
No further questions from the people for Mr. Schmidt, Judge.
Please state your name and spell your name for the record.
Daniel Reardon. Want the first name spelled too? Okay. DanielRiordan.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. Good morning, Mr. Reardon. Are you familiar with the Swan Boat Club?
Yes, sir.
How are you familiar with it?
I've been a member there for maybe 20 years.
Are you involved in any other capacity with the boat club?
I'm a I'm a past Commodore and I'm currently the Commodore.
What does the Commodore at a boat club do?
Well, I mean, just oversees everything, gives direction to, works with the board, basically, and works with the vice, the rear, like I said, the board, and takes care of anything, question, if someone's got a question, if they got something that's, a problem or something like that, that's it.
Is this an elected position?
Yes.
And were you brought to the boat club on April 20th of 2024?
Yes.
And why were you brought on that day?
I got a page from the rear Commodore saying 911, get back to the boat club.
Do you know about what time you arrived to the boat club?
It's probably about 3:15, 3:20.
And where is the Swan Boat Club located?
6332 Branshaw Road, Newport.
That's in the county of Monroe.
Yes.
Was there some event at the boat club on April 20th?
There was a dock party in the morning and a birthday party in the afternoon.
Where was the birthday party located?
In our pavilion.
And that is separate from the boat club, or is that attached to the boat
It's
club?
attached to like a breezeway or garage area.
Okay. Does the boat club have surveillance?
Yes.
And do you have a camera facing the parking lot?
There's a couple cameras facing the
Do you
parking
have one
lot.
that faces the parking lot facing east?
Yes.
And do you have a camera in the pavilion area?
Yes.
And do you have a camera in the breezeway that connects the two buildings?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Do you know how the system works? Is it continuous or does it motion capture?
It's continued. It loops and it stays for like, I think 7 to 14 days.
Is that stored at the boat club on a computer or a device?
Yes, up in the office.
Okay. Do you know who has access to the system?
Well, at that time, we had just changed. We never got real good access, but one of the past rear Commodore had access to it and a couple others. But there's only a handful of people that got access to the office.
Do you have access to it?
Yes.
Okay. At some point, did you take law enforcement to obtain or to view the videos?
We did, but I had to contact the past rear Commodore to gain access to it.
Why is that?
Because at that time, he knew how to hook it back. You got to unplug one computer and plug in another computer in order to look at it on the video screen.
I see. But you were able to display it for law enforcement?
Yes.
Okay. And these recordings, they're made every day, regardless of what's going on. You didn't do this specifically for today.
No, they're every day.
To your knowledge, the date and time stamp on the video, are they accurate?
Yes.
And how did law enforcement receive a copy of the videos?
Well, we informed them that we had a video, and they asked if they could take a copy, and they came back and took a copy of it.
Judge, we would move to admit People's Proposed Exhibit 2.
Any objection?
Your Honor, if we could have it played and then see if there's an objection, we can move for admission is what I would propose.
I will reserve my room.
Okay.
Holy moly. Good gracious. He could not. Y'all, please tell me. Yes, you know why. That's the father. You know what he's doing. He's looking for his children. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. Oh, that is awful. Oh, this is a different angle. Oh, they went in on the other side. See, they just opened a door on the other side of the car to the building to get to the front of her vehicle. At least that's what it looks like. Maybe a window? I think it was a door. Oh my gosh. That was a child on the bar that just got pulled down. She would look like she was okay though. Can you imagine? They're looking for the missing kids right now. Probably looking around going, okay, is everybody accounted for? Who are we missing? Oh my gosh.
Is this the breezeway you were referring to?
Yes.
I want to know where her house was. Adjacent to the bar. Now the mom was really badly injured as well, right? I got to go back over here and look at the details because I forgot all the details of this one. Is that the other door? That's what that... You think that's what that is? No. Yeah, there's the father. See, he's trying to get to the kids. That's the father right there. He can't do anything. Bless his heart. His wife's... I think that's his wife and his kids. Because she was in the hospital for a while, right? Is that her? Oh my gosh. The blonde? Or is that just a whole different person? I thought that was the father. I could be wrong. Or is that a different guy? We can watch these again. Once we get more information, we can go back and rewatch these after they have this hearing. Yeah, see, that's the father right there. Look, bless his heart.
Then we'll renew our request request to admit Exhibit 2. No objection.
Oh my God, they were trapped. I did not know all of this.
Sergeant, please state your name and spell your name for the record.
My name's Sergeant Michael Bomia, Michaelbomia.
Mr. Lorraine.
Thank you, Judge. Morning, Sergeant.
Yes, sir.
Sir, what do you do for a living?
I'm a police officer with the Mineral County Sheriff's Office.
And how long have you been so employed?
19 years.
Has your entire law enforcement career been with the Sheriff's Department?
Yes, sir.
And you hold all the training, education, and certifications necessary to be a peace officer in the state of Michigan?
Yes, I do, sir.
Were those up to date on April 20th of this year?
Yes, sir.
Were you working that day?
Yes, sir.
What was your assignment?
I am the shift supervisor for the Days B platoon.
And what does a shift supervisor do on the day shift at the Sheriff's Office?
I supervise the and coordinate the road patrol activities for the deputies that are working.
Okay. What's road patrol for the record?
They would be the officers that respond to calls for service in the police cars and for people that need help or answer 911 calls.
Okay. Are you mobile when you do this work, or are you usually at the Sheriff's Office?
I try to be as mobile as much as I can during my shift, sir.
Okay. Very good. Did you receive a dispatch that brought us here today?
Yes, sir.
On April 20th.
Yes, sir.
What was that dispatch?
Mineral County Central Dispatch broadcasted a serious injury crash that occurred at the Swan Boat Club. They relayed that there was a car that had crashed into a building, trapping people underneath and injuring several others.
What did you do in response to this dispatch?
I was at North Dixie Highway and Interstate 75, and I responded with my license sirens.
Did you eventually arrive at the boat club?
Yes, sir.
What did you observe when you arrived?
It was a very a chaotic scene. There was a very large hole in the side of the building. There was multiple people laying on the ground, asking for assistance in different states of injury.
Were you the first law enforcement officer to respond?
Yes, sir.
And were any other first responders there when you arrived?
There was several fire departments that firefighters had shown up just as I arrived.
You indicated there was a hole in the building. Did you enter the building?
Yes, sir.
And what did you see inside the building?
I found I believe it was a dark blue Ford Edge crashed into the building. There was several other victims lying on the floor. And then there was also a set of folding chairs with several people sitting on those folding chairs.
Okay. At some point, was the defendant in this case pointed out to you?
Yes, sir. I asked witnesses if the driver was here, and they pointed out to the suspect.
And did she identify herself to you?
Yes, sir.
Do you see the person who identified herself to you as the driver of the vehicle?
Yes,
today?
sir. Yes, sir.
Your Honor, we'll stipulate to the defendant identification.
Stipulation is entered.
Thank you, Judge. What did you do with the driver of the vehicle at that time?
I began to escort her out of the building, and I asked her if she was okay, if she was injured during the crash, and how she ended up crashing into the building.
Okay. And what did you do with her at that time?
I secured her in the back seat of my patrol car.
Okay. What did you do after that?
I started to help out the first responders as much as I could, looking for other victims, which we found several in the area that would then in front of where the vehicle crashed in a separate room.
Okay. Sergeant, were you assigned a body-worn camera at this time?
Yes, sir.
And was that functional and operational at the time of this incident?
Yes, sir.
Have you had an opportunity to review the footage from that camera?
I did, sir.
And is it a fair and accurate representation of what you saw that day?
Yes, sir.
Judge, at this time, people would move to admit portions of Sergeant Bomia's body-worn camera.
Any objection?
Your Honor, again, I would just ask that it be played prior to being admitted.
Orders there on the request.
Okay. At this time, Judge will move to proffer it to the court.
You may proceed.
15, 17, Central, let's see. You're on your way. Which one? Can you come with me just for a second? Are you driving? Can you come with me just for a second? Okay. This one out here? I got you. Where you going? Oh, this one's my car. Okay. Got a hug? Yes. What happened?
I passed out.
Okay. Have you been feeling ill or anything like that?
Yes.
What kind of medical conditions do you have?
Seizures.
Seizures? Okay. Were you here for the party?
No.
What were you on here the boat club for? Are you
I
here?
was just coming down here.
Okay.
Oh my God, this is terrible.
So you take medications for seizure, you
Yes.
said? Have you been drinking it all today?
A little bit, yes.
Okay. When's the last time you had something to drink?
Probably a half hour ago.
Half an hour ago. What do you drink?
Wine.
Wine? Okay. What's your name, hon?
Marshella
Marshella what?
Chidester.
Chidester, okay. You don't have any weapons on you, do you?
No.
All right, I'm just gonna leave you back here just for a little bit, okay?
Okay.
All right. Do you need to see any medical attention right now?
I don't think so.
Okay. I'm gonna roll down this window over here, just get you some air, okay? Okay.
Good.
I just want to separate her from everything that's going on.
Give me a
Four, five, six.
Yes, so they're on you. Yes, they're on you, Smith. No. Yes, they're in my trunk, but. Where's your trunk at?
We've already stipulated in the court center an order regarding medical records of certain individuals that were hurt in the crash. So I would stipulate to this being entered for preliminary examination purposes, but we've already stipulated these individuals being hurt. So as to the purpose of playing it, I don't know the relevance.
Response from the people.
Judge, we need to ID the victims.
I would stipulate to that. I've already done it with the medical records.
Judge, it also illustrates the scene at the time, the chaotic nature of it. I believe it's quite relevant to this matter.
As to the scene, I'll stipulate that it looked the way it did and what happened, and my client's vehicle entered the building. Anything else would be just completely irrelevant. I'm stipulating that these people were injured as a result of her motor vehicle crashing through the building.
Are you stipulating also the admissibility of it?
Admissibility of this video?
Correct.
I stipulate to the admissibility for preliminary examination purposes.
That's fine.
So to bind over, I have to find that there has been a serious impairment of bodily function of each victim. Are you stipulating as to that?
Well, Your Honor, that's where the order that's been entered by stipulation of the parties that the medical records are going to be entered. It's my understanding through the prosecutor that that may have been sent over to the court maybe a day prior so the court could have time to digest it and review it. So in effect, if the medical records show a serious impairment of an important body function, then it does, and we would not object for preliminary examination purposes. But unless the video is showing something of my client making a comment or something like that, it's really irrelevant, Your Honor.
It does, Your Honor. We've shown that she says she was driving. She says she was drinking. She says that she takes medication. All are elements of the charges today, Judge.
Your Honor, I understand, but to go further in this video, there's really no need. It's not relevant. They already got in what took place, and I'll stipulate that that's accurate.
A question before the court is the extent of the victim's injuries. Whether a serious impairment of bodily function occurred to each one of the victims named in the complaint. I have reviewed the medical record, but I do believe the video evidence from the scene is relevant as to that. Under MRE 403, objection is overruled.
Okay, I respect that, Judge.
Thank you, Judge. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find the exact spot, so if it's okay with the court, can I restart? I can attempt if you'd like.
But I give you a few minutes to get to the point. I'll take it 5 minutes.
Thank you, Judge.
All rise. District Court's in recess. You may be seated.
As long as I look here, I just can't open full screen. That's an issue.
15, 17 Central Woods. Okay. Proof my pants off. My truck's right there. In my bulletproof.
I think this is approximately it. I cannot, with the way PowerPoint works, I can't pause in the middle of it, so I'm just going to play it like this. I'm ready. Thanks.
All rise. First District Court is back in session.
You may be seated. We are back on the record. You may proceed, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Judge. I believe we found the approximate location that we stopped.
Don, you swear? No. I guess it is in my trunk, but
Where's your truck at? So right there it is.
So my truck's right there. In my bulletproof, my attack vest, the scissors. I need to cut the pants off. Right there. It's in the back seat. Yeah. You guys have scissors? We're gonna get there. Yeah, I know. Are you already? Yeah. We just get this one out. I don't know if that's what you guys want.
TNS everybody.
There's another soldier.
What's the name?
Jaden.
Is this Jaden?
Jaden. Jaden. Jaden.
Do you know where Jaden's at? Yeah, he's on something. That's why I was letting you.
What's your first name? Edward. My name's Nick and this is Steve. We're here for you. You want to please tell from me? Hands are hurt. Your back hurt. Your front leg. I know, buddy. Everybody do this? No. I'm just gonna write down his name and stuff. So I guess you guys have it, right? How much do you move this on? This is a good one. Edward. It's Edward, right?
E-W-A-R-D.
What's your middle name, Edward?
Thomas. And the last name Smothers. S-M-O. I don't have to use that.
What's your last name again, Ed?
Smothers.
S-M-O.
U-T-H-E.
Yeah. What's your date of birth?
And that's the end of the portions we're proffering, Judge.
Any additional objections to its admission from the defense?
No, Your Honor, no objection.
It is admitted.
And Sergeant, just one more question. You had an opportunity to review this video. You reviewed the timestamp on it,
Yes, sir.
and is that accurate with when you were at the scene?
Yes, sir.
All right. No further questions for the Sergeant, Judge.
Cross-examination.
No questions, Your Honor.
May the witness be excused.
From the people, yes. Thank you, Judge.
Yes, Your Honor.
You're free to go. Thank you. People may call their next witness.
Your Honor, people call W. Madison Fleck.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
You may be seated. Deputy, please state your name and spell your name.
Madison Fleck, MADISON FLECK.
You may proceed.
Good morning, Deputy. How are you employed?
I'm employed through the Monroe County Sheriff's Office as a deputy sheriff,
How long have you been in that position?
approximately 4.5 years.
Were you in any other law enforcement position prior to that?
No, sir.
Okay. Are you certified to be a peace officer in the state of Michigan?
Yes, sir.
And you were on April 20th?
Yes, sir.
You were working on April 20th as a deputy?
Yes, sir.
And did something bring you to the Swan Boat Club?
A call came in through Monroe County Central Dispatch, and I responded to it.
And do you know approximately what time you arrived at the scene?
No, sir.
Can you describe the scene when you arrived?
When I arrived, there was multiple EMS and fire personnel already on scene, as well as my supervisor, Sergeant Romeo, and Deputy Schmidt. And then when I responded into the venue, there was chaos. There were still people being treated and pulled out of the building.
Did you meet any individuals that had been injured on that date?
Yes, when I first walked in, I responded to Denise Roberts, as well as Patricia Raths, and then I also observed Leah Sith and Diane Medina.
Are you issued a body-worn camera?
Yes, sir.
Were you wearing it on that day?
Yes, sir.
Was it in good working order to your knowledge?
Yes, sir.
Did you have an opportunity to review that video?
Yes.
And is that a fair and accurate representation of what you witnessed?
Yes.
Judge, I would move to admit what is proposed Exhibit 4, a compilation of the deputy's body-worn camera.
Your Honor, I'll object at this time pending a scene of the her identifying the video.
I will reserve rolling now. Thank you. Exhibit 4.
This is Exhibit 4, Your Honor, Judge.
On the floor. These guys do nothing wrong. I just got one pediatric back there. I don't even know. She's 18. Yeah, she's 11.
Is there anybody? I got this series of information. I'm just trying to get on getting
Both sides.
No, just try to stay out of the way of everybody and help where you can.
She's one of the most critical. I've attended to all three of them. So
She's allergic to amoxicillin. You're welcome. Are you really?
I'm right behind you. I'm assuming she was operating.
I think they want to leave her right for right now, just because. Sliding into her back. I don't know if it's attached anywhere. It should.
Just in case. Let me put, thank you. Oh, no, that's not heavy enough. Sorry, I got my okay. All right. Ma'am, I'm gonna get, were you in here when it happened? No, you need to witness it at all? Okay. Her name's Diane. Medina? No. Okay. Does it hurt pretty much everywhere right now? My lower back down. Okay. Just try to take some deep breaths, okay? As deep breaths as you can. Yep. As deep breaths as you can. Well, they're hitting this guy, and then you're coming up next. Try to move your hips, babe. Okay? Okay. Okay. They gotta get her on them. These they were right in front, so we'll keep her right there. You guys need any help back there? Good. Okay. Sir, so you been cutting your station yet?
No.
Will you witness it? The crash?
I was in the bar. I just heard it and came in to try to help out. So, but I didn't see when it actually happened.
Okay. Okay. Let's just start getting
That's the end of the video, Judge.
Your Honor, no objection to it being.
It is admitted.
Deputy, to your knowledge, is the date and timestamp correct on this video?
Yes.
No further questions, Judge.
Cross-examination.
I have no question, Your Honor.
May the witness be excused.
People excuse the witness, Judge.
Yes, Your Honor.
You're free to go. Thanks. People may call their next witness.
Your Honor, people call Deputy Schmidt.
Solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
You may be seated.
Thank you, sir.
Deputy, please state your name and spell your name for the record.
Deputy Stephen Schmidt, STEVENSCHMIDT.
You may proceed.
Thank you. Good morning, Deputy. How are you employed?
By the Monroe County Sheriff's Office.
How long have you been in that position?
4 years.
Do you have any prior law enforcement experience?
I do.
And can you tell me what that is, please?
I started my career with the Riverview Police Department, and then I also worked with the Dundee Police Department.
In all, how long have you been employed in law enforcement?
7 years.
Are you certified to be a law enforcement officer in the state of Michigan?
I am.
And you were so on April 20th?
I am. I was.
You were employed as a deputy and working on April 20th?
Yes.
Do you have training investigating operating while intoxicated?
I do.
Can you tell me what training you have?
I have SFSD, standard field sobriety test training through Wayne County Regional Police Academy. I also have refresher training, as well as advanced roadside impaired driving enforcement training.
Deputy, do you have any idea approximately how many OWI arrests you've been involved in?
Approximately 40 to 50, somewhere in that range. I'm not exactly sure.
Understood. Can you please describe the scene when you first arrived?
So when I first arrived on scene, I got out of my patrol vehicle and it was chaotic. There were people running around screaming. There's injured people everywhere. I saw the
a hole in the side of the boat club. As I started to walk towards it, I noticed a small child laying on the ground. The child did not appear to be breathing or moving. At that time, I felt that there was most likely more people inside that might need medical attention. So I entered the breezeway area of the boat club. That's where I met with Conservation Officer Nick Ingersoll. He asked me for some help. There was a young boy in there that had an injury that needed attending to.
At some point, did you interact with the defendant?
I did.
And did you administer field sobriety tests?
I did.
What test did you administer?
The first test I administered was a horizontal gaze nystagmus.
And what were the results of that test?
I was not able to complete that test.
Why is that?
The defendant could not focus on my finger, which was the stimulus for the test, so I wasn't able to complete it after multiple times.
Is that a sign of intoxication?
It could be.
What other test did you administer?
I administered counting backwards from a number to another number of my choosing.
What were the results of that test?
She was not able to complete that test. She miscounted.
Did you do any other tests on the defendant?
Objection, Your Honor. How did she miscount?
You could describe how she miscounted.
The counting started from 100 and went down to 88. She started with 100 and then counted down to 90, and then she had some miscountings in there. I'm not exactly sure.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear him. He wasn't sure. Is that what you said,
You
sir?
said that there were miscountings.
Yeah, there were miscountings after the number 90.
And did you say what they were?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
Thank you. Did you administer any other sobriety tests?
I did.
What else did you administer?
The alphabet. I asked her to recite the alphabet A through Z without singing.
And what was the result of that?
She was able to pass that test and complete that test.
The horizontal gaze nystagmus, is that one of the standardized tests?
It is.
How many standardized field sobriety tests are there?
3.
Did you administer any of the other standardized field sobriety tests?
I did not.
Why is that, Deputy?
Due to her physical condition at the time, when I was able to speak with her and get her out of the back of the vehicle, she advised me that she had neuropathy in her hands and feet. The other 2 tests that are standardized are physical tests, the walk and turn and the one leg stand. I felt that by putting her through those tests, it could put herself in harm by potentially falling or tripping, and so that's why I chose not to do those tests.
Understood. Did you notice any other signs of intoxication?
I did.
What did you notice?
The odor of intoxicants coming off her person, her inability to maintain balance, and then also her eyes were bloodshot, watery.
And at some point, did you place her under arrest?
I did.
What did you arrest her for?
Suspicion of operating while intoxicated.
Deputy, keep your voice up, please.
Yes, sir. Sorry.
And at some point, did you have an interaction with another deputy named Karina?
I did.
And was this after the field sobriety tests?
Yes.
What's Deputy Karina's role in this matter?
Deputy Karina is a DRE, a drug recognition expert.
What is a drug recognition expert?
He's able to essentially, it's a more advanced SFST training where he's able to put a driver into different types of tests to determine exactly what kind of substance they're under the influence of.
And is it fair to say at this point, Deputy Karina took over the
He did
investigation?
He did at that point, yes.
Okay. What does Deputy Karina, were you present during that time?
I was.
And what does Deputy Karina do with the defendant after he takes over?
He starts speaking to her about different.
Objection, Your Honor, as to hearsay.
Response.
I'm not asking for what Deputy Karina said. I'm just generally asking, does he administer any other tests or anything that's admissible that we can discuss?
Sustained.
No other sobriety tests.
Okay. Were you issued a body worn camera at the time?
I was.
And were you wearing it on that day and time?
I was.
And were you present during the interview between Deputy Karina and the defendant?
Yes.
Have you reviewed Deputy Karina's body cam video?
I have.
And is it a fair and accurate representation of what you witnessed?
Yes.
And prior, you had a body cam on as well, correct?
I did.
Did that camera capture the conversation as well?
It did.
Did Is there some reason we can't show that today?
I'm not sure.
Was your volume on, Deputy?
Oh, it was not.
So it's muted.
Correct.
You cannot hear anything that's said.
Correct.
Okay. Judge, we're going to move to admit Exhibit 5, which is a brief, torn down version of Deputy Karina's body cam video, which shows the interview with the defendant.
Objection, Your Honor. Again, hearsay. This person, deputy, is not here for whatever reason to authenticate that that's true and accurate at that date and time.
Judge, this deputy just authenticated it. He was present during the interview. His body cam was on as well. However, it was muted, but he can testify to what was said. So he can, it is not hearsay as he can be cross-examined. He was present during the interview.
Well, if there's any testimony, voice of Deputy Karina, that's hearsay. He's not here to verify that that's him speaking and what he said and date and time.
Are you objecting on the confrontation clause or hearsay?
It would be hearsay and confrontation. Both.
Judge, Deputy Karina's statements are not offered to prove the matter asserted. So it's not hearsay.
Well, it is. Then why are they showing it?
Because we want the defendant's statements, Judge, which are offered to prove the matter asserted.
Your Honor, confrontation.
All right. The Michigan Supreme Court has held the confrontation clause does not apply to preliminary examinations. So it's denied on those grounds. As to hearsay, I'll reserve on that. I'd like to see the video.
Okay, thank you, Judge.
Judge, we're going to offer what is people's proposed Exhibit 5 at this time. Actually, one quick question, Deputy. To your knowledge, prior to this interview, was the defendant Mirandized?
She was.
And by that, she was read her Miranda rights?
Correct.
Your Honor, who read the rights? When were they read?
Is that an objection, Judge?
Yes, I object. Because if there's any statements or anything, I'd like to know that she was read her rights.
Judge, we have provided the defense counsel all of these videos. He's had an opportunity to review them. We for the brevity of this hearing, we have cut down countless hours. So if the defense counsel wants to argue that we shouldn't be showing all of this video, but then he says we should show more. So we can't have it both ways, Judge. Either we're going to be here for 4 days watching video, or we have to cut it down. Also, there are some inadmissible things, so we have to remove those as well. So for brevity, we did, and we skipped over the Miranda right portion. He's been provided this. He can review it. He has all of these videos.
Are you objecting on the rule of completeness? Or?
She wasn't given, or I don't see any Miranda rights being given. If they were given, the person would have to come forward and say that she was Mirandized. And so we don't have a person here. I don't know. They have the burden of proof to prepare for today. Just because I'm given records or DVDs doesn't mean that I fold and I'm as well sit outside. So, Your Honor, just because they give me things doesn't mean that I stipulate to everything. So, Your Honor, that's their case to prepare. And I don't have any knowledge of the Miranda rights of a person today that's going to be testifying. Thank you.
Do you wish to voir dire the witness as to the Miranda statement?
Are you talking to me, Judge?
Yes.
He has the burden of proof, but okay. Officer, did you read the Miranda rights, commonly referred to as Miranda rights, advice of rights to my client?
I did not.
And did you ever have my client sign or initial each Mirandized right?
I did not.
We rest, Your Honor.
Deputy, were you present when the Miranda rights were read to defendant?
I was.
And were the complete rights read?
They were.
And who read those rights?
Deputy Karina.
All right. Judge, I would further state that no motion to suppress has been brought. This is not the time or place to argue this. He could have brought a motion prior to this. Nothing has been, this is the first we've heard of it, Judge.
Your Honor, I'm supposed to be Nostradamus and figure out what they're going to do in the future. They have the burden of proof. Don't put it on me because they may not be prepared. So They're the ones that are going to bring in statements. You have the officers, and you don't have to worry about hearsay. They have the burden of proof. I don't. I'm sort of in their sandbox today. So, Your Honor, please don't allow them to put the burden on me or my client because they may not be prepared for today. Thank you.
And your objection to the statement is?
It's hearsay. He's saying he heard somebody say some rights. Well, I'd like to be able to see that. And if the evidence is no longer around, then it's to be used against them. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, what exception or exemption to the hearsay rule do you believe the testimony falls under?
Your Honor, it's not hearsay. He's telling you what he saw, what he witnessed. And it's not offered to prove the truth of the matter asserted, Judge. That we aren't burdened by proving that these are admissible. He can object to the admissibility of them. He can file motions to suppress. None of that has happened. He's had this evidence for months, Judge. We've been prepared for this case for months.
Now, if I get this right, listening respectfully, Judge, to the logic of the prosecutor, I'm supposed to know ahead of time of what he's going to put in court. And then I'm supposed to file a written motion of what he may put in court. I can't get in his brain. I don't know what he's doing. I have no idea what evidence that he's moving forward. And he knows that you got to have the officer here or the person here that allegedly read any rights or had them signed off. That's a critical portion of this case. And it's a critical proceeding, part of the proceeding of a preliminary examination of waiving your rights. I'm sure that if it doesn't have anything to do with the case or it's that material, then why are we talking about it today? They're fighting strenuously to bring something in. Is it part of the elements? I think that's material. So, Your Honor, respectfully, under the hearsay rule, I can't cross-examine. It's based on a third party talking about what he heard. Thank you.
Question of suppression isn't before the court. The only question is this a hearsay statement? It is an out-of-court statement by a declarant. Does not appear to fall under an exception or exemption. Objection is the same.
Thank you.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Judge.
Okay. Do you remember what happened when you?
Really, I pulled into the parking lot.
I'm
and
I'm objecting and he's still playing.
You objected as to the testimony of the witness, correct?
Of my client. I objected to my client and the witness, both. They haven't shown any waiver. She certainly is detained. She couldn't walk home from there. And they had an absolute duty to inform her of her Miranda rights. So I object to that because nobody's talked about the Miranda rights because they didn't bring the person in that allegedly read the rights to her.
So what is the legal basis for your objection as to playing the video?
Because it's a statement, any statements that can be used against my client. She didn't sign off on her Miranda rights prior to giving a statement and prior to being questioned. She's clearly being questioned. And she's been in custody. She couldn't walk out of there.
Response from the people.
Your Honor, it appears he's arguing a motion to suppress and a hearsay argument at the same time, Judge. Her statements are clearly admissible. So if it's a motion to suppress, that should have been brought prior to today. So if the court wants, we can play the whole video. We have it on video where she's read her Miranda rights. It'll take a minute, Judge, but we can gather that.
As to hearsay, this is a statement by party opponent is admissible. Hearsay objection is overruled. He does have the right under the rule of completeness to have the whole video played.
May we approach, Judge?
Yes. Starting under the rule of completeness to see the entire video, they have objected under the confrontation clause to the playing of this video. I'm overruling that. The Michigan Supreme Court has held that the Confrontation Clause does not apply to preliminary examinations. That Sixth Amendment right is limited to trials. There is a part of this video that includes the preliminary breathalyzer test. That is not admissible under Michigan law. Although it will be played, I will not consider it in this proceeding.
Judge, for clarification purposes, is the defense counsel asserting the completion rule, or are they willing to allow the redacted and shortened video be played?
I mean, we can, based upon the court's ruling for preliminary examination purposes only, a shorter version we would stipulate to.
Thank you, Judge.
You need some time to cue that.
I think we were at the very beginning, so I'll just start over if it's okay with the court. It's a brief video, 2 or 3 minutes long.
Okay,
Thank
you may
you.
proceed.
Judge, we are properly proposing Exhibit 5 at this point, Judge.
Exhibit 5 is fine.
Okay. Going around here?
No, not really. I pulled into the parking lot and I thought I was driving up to the boat club, and evidently I was driving right to the pavilion.
Which direction did you drive from?
I live right down the street.
Okay, so you were coming from that way?
Yes.
This way? When you got to the parking lot, what happened?
I don't remember.
You don't remember?
I don't know.
Okay. Do you think there's a reason you don't remember? Did something happen or?
You know what? I have these seizures, and
Okay. Do you have anything where it says like maybe that, did your doctor permit you to drive and everything?
I'm cleared to drive now, and I don't have my purse with me, but I do have a card in my purse.
Okay. When's the last time you had a seizure that you know of?
March.
In March?
Yeah.
Okay. So in March is the last time you remember that you had a seizure.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm just trying to get this. Were you hospitalized for it?
Yes.
You were?
Yes.
Okay. Did you have like at home or something?
No, I was in Monroe for 4 days and Toledo for 6 days.
I'm sorry, did you have your seizure while you were at home? Or did you have it
I had it at home, and then I did have one when I was in the hospital.
when you were in the hospital? Okay. And March is going to be the last time you had that seizure?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Do you think, is your normal behavior when you have a seizure, is it have lapses of memory?
Yes.
Like that? Okay. So once you got to the parking lot, you don't remember anything?
I don't.
Okay. Okay. I guess all the questions I have for you now. Deputy Schmidt's gonna take you over from here, okay? So on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 being like you're stone cold sober, you can drive perfectly, 10 being you're passed out drunk, where do you think you're at right now?
7.
A 7? Okay. Do you think you're okay to drive?
I wouldn't want to drive.
You wouldn't let you drive?
No.
Okay. Okay, just give me 1 second, okay? Sorry, my phone's ringing. I think it's gonna be my boss.
Okay.
I apologize.
She just admitted.
Deputy, who transported the defendant to the hospital?
I did.
And why were you transporting her to the hospital?
To perform the blood draw for the OWI investigation.
And at some point during the transport or your time with her, did she tell you why she was going to the boat club that day?
Yes.
What did she say?
She advised me that she was on her way to attend a birthday party at the boat club.
What hospital did you transport her to?
Hospital.
And did that hospital draw her blood?
They did.
Were you present during the blood draw?
I was.
What happened to the blood after it was drawn?
It was placed back into the blood kit by me along with the corresponding paperwork.
Is that a kit that gets sealed away?
It is.
And that kit, you sealed it in the usual manner?
Yes.
And it was transported where?
Back to the Monroe County Sheriff's Office.
And ultimately, where did it end up?
Evidence.
Was it transported at some point to the crime lab?
It was.
Lansing? Okay. Did you receive the results back?
I did.
Judge, I'm going to show the exhibit. What is the people's proposed exhibit 6?
Objection, Your Honor, there's lack of foundation.
Judge, this comes in under MCL 766.11B without foundation. I'm just being nice here, Judge.
Response?
I would like to cross-examine the deputy.
He'll have that opportunity, Judge.
Under the Code of Criminal Procedure, it's a self-authenticating document for the purposes of preliminary examination. No foundation is required. It is admitted.
Thank you, Judge.
May I see it prior to the hearing?
Am I right to say that she just said she didn't think she should be driving, but she said it because of the seizures?
Somebody recognize that document?
Yes.
What is it?
It is the laboratory report from the crime lab.
And can you please read the results of the report, please?
So item number 1 that was tested was her blood, which came back to a 0.18 grams of alcohol per 100 milliliters of blood.
Deputy, do you know the legal limit for operating while intoxicated in the state of Michigan?
0.08.
And do you know the limit for operating with a high blood alcohol content in the state of Michigan?
0.17.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Deputy. I'll take that from you. Did you receive another lab report, Deputy?
I did.
I'm going to show you what is marked as People's Proposed Exhibit 7, Judge. We will also be requesting this be admitted under 76.11B.
Your Honor, same objection as previously. I'd like to take a look at the exhibit.
Show the defense first.
Sorry. Thank you. Deputy.
Objection is overruled being a self-authenticating document.
Thank you, Judge. It is admitted.
It is admitted.
Thank you. Judge, Deputy, this is Exhibit 7. Did you recognize this document?
I do.
What is it?
It is the supplemental lab report that came back from the crime lab.
And can you please tell me what the results of that report are?
The crime lab detected gabapentin in her system.
Does it provide a level or it just indicates gabapentin?
It says 1.3 UG per milliliter. I don't know what UG stands for.
Understood. Thank you. I don't have any further questions for this witness, Your Honor.
Cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor. In the tape, is that you talking on the videotape that's played earlier?
This one right here, sir?
Yes.
No, it's not.
Who's that talking?
That's Deputy Cody Carino.
Okay. And he's not here today, right?
Correct.
Okay. And my client was asked, what number do you feel you are today? And she responded per video number 7, correct?
Correct.
Okay. The video never says that under the influence of intoxicants, what number are you? Do you agree with that?
Correct.
Okay. And do you agree that it could be interpreted you just went through a wall and you wouldn't be able to, you don't feel like driving a car?
Possibly.
The objection, Your Honor, I think he's mischaracterizing the evidence. The deputy said on a scale of 1 to 10, 0 being you're completely sober, 10 being you're passed out drunk.
No, Your Honor, he's trying to testify.
Judge, we can watch the video again. That's what was stated.
Your Honor, you heard what the deputy sheriff said.
What is your response to the objection?
The objection is the officer testified. He speaks for himself. He was there, and it wasn't said about the alcohol. Whatever the court heard on a video, the court heard. I'm not going to object to that.
Overruled, I'll give it to David.
And now they're accepting what he's saying.
And then the question of my client is, do you feel that you should be able to drive or not drive? And my client answered no. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know if she said no based upon her just getting through driving through a wall?
Objection, Your Honor. He's calling for asking the witness to speculate to what the defendant knew or didn't know.
Response.
Well, he was there, Your Honor. He would be able to answer or not answer.
Sustained and speculative.
Okay. Officer, when asked of my client does she feel she could drive the car, drive the vehicle, whatever may have been said or asked? And she said, no. Was there any mention of alcohol in that sentence or that question about being able to drive? Can you drive?
No, but I believe Deputy Karina's scale that he gave mentions alcohol in it.
Okay. Now, earlier you said no, but now you're saying yes.
What do you mean?
About alcohol being mentioned. Earlier you said no, it wasn't mentioned.
Well, when he asked her about the level of 1 to 10, whatever, stone cold, sober, or passed out drunk.
All right. And as to operating the vehicle, whether to operate it or not, was the word alcohol used in that sentence or that phrase?
By the defendant?
No, by the officer.
Then no.
And did you go to the hospital of when the blood sample was taken of my client?
I did.
Okay. And when the blood sample was taken, do you use a state police kit?
I do.
Okay. And the state police kit, did it have 2 vials in it?
It did.
Okay. And you saw somebody draw blood?
Correct.
Okay. Is that person here today?
No.
And when then you opened up the vials, the 2 glass vials, am I correct? There's a seal on them?
I didn't open the glass vials.
Who opened the glass vials?
I don't know if they were opened. I don't remember that.
Do you remember if the vials were sealed?
Were they sealed?
Yes. There's a package.
Right.
That there's this kit, they call it.
Right.
And you opened it?
Correct.
You were in charge,
correct? Correct.
Okay. And when you opened it, did it have 2 vials in it?
It did.
Okay. And then you took the vials out, correct?
Correct.
And those vials are to hold blood, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then what did you do with the vials? Was there any seal on them? Or there wasn't a seal?
I placed them back in the cardboard that's in the kit, and then I folded up the box, and there's a shipping seal that comes inside.
Let me back up.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Maybe I wasn't clear. It was prior to the blood being drawn.
Okay.
Did you unseal them?
Like the actual tubes itself?
Yes, the vials.
No.
Yes. You never unsealed them?
I don't unseal the tubes.
Okay. Who unseals the tube, if anybody?
I'm not sure. I don't know if they're ever unsealed.
Okay. How does the blood get in the tube if it's not opened and unsealed?
I am assuming through the IV that they draw.
An IV?
Or when they put the needle in her arm and.
You were there watching this, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And it's very important. Mm-hmm. What did you specifically see regarding these vials after you opened them?
Mm-hmm.
What did you do with them?
Objection, Your Honor. He's already testified he didn't open the vials, that they were sealed.
Your Honor, I'd like to be able to examine him. It's very short. It's only a few questions.
Overruled. Give you a little leeway.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mm-hmm. Once you opened up this state police kit,
right?
What did you do with the vials?
Give them to the phlebotomist.
Okay. You never unsealed them, correct?
No.
And you don't know if there was a seal on them, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And how many times have you done this in cases?
A lot.
Like, what would that be? Would you say per month, per year? Just, I won't hold you to it. Just
per year, I would say approximately. It just depends. It could be a couple to upwards of 8, 9, 10. I'm not sure exactly.
And how many years have you been doing this?
7 years.
And did you look at these glass tubes, these vials, prior to giving them to somebody?
I did.
Okay. And you don't know if there was a seal or not, correct?
I don't recall. There's something on the top. I don't know what it is. I'm
You
not.
said there is something on the top,
There's a white piece on the top. I don't know what it is.
but you never removed anything prior to giving it to
I never have. No.
And was the tubes, when you look at them,
Yes.
and you pull them out, did you make sure there was nothing in them?
Well, there's like a white like powder in them. I think it has something to do with reacting with the blood potentially.
What did you do when the person that drew this blood gave you the tubes back?
Put them back in the seal. Put them back in the container.
Did you do anything with the tubes, like shake them or not shake them, or just put them in the box? What did you do?
Just put them back in the cardboard that it comes in.
Okay.
And then there's a sticker that goes on it.
And did you have custody of this, or did somebody have custody after you brought it back to the station, I presume?
It went into an evidence locker.
Okay. Is the evidence locker refrigerated?
No, it's not.
Do you know any of the rules or regulations concerning refrigeration of blood samples and fermentation that may take place that if it's not refrigerated?
Not off the top of my head, no.
I don't have any more questions.
Can you redirect any people?
No, Judge.
May the witness be excused.
People excuse this witness, Judge.
Yes, Your Honor. People may call their next witness.
Judge, people call Detective Sergeant Jeffrey Hooper.
Please state your name and spell your name for the record.
Detective Sergeant Jeff Hooper, JEFFHOOPER.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. Detective Sergeant, what do you do for a living?
So I am the sergeant for the Detective Bureau for the Monroe County Sheriff's Office.
Roughly, what does that mean?
So basically, I supervise the detectives and detective investigations and stuff along those lines.
Okay. How long have you been a law enforcement officer?
Just shy of 24 years.
And is that all with the Monroe County Sheriff's Office?
It is.
And how long have you been a detective?
Approximately 9 years in investigations.
And you've been the head of the Detective Bureau for how long?
Approximately a year.
Were you involved in this investigation?
I was.
And what was your role?
So on the 20th, I was contacted by Lieutenant Zebek and advised of the situation. I responded to the scene, basically coordinated the evidence collection efforts on the scene.
Okay. And did you continue to be a part of this investigation subsequent?
Yes.
And as part of the investigation, did you take part in an interview with the defendant on April 21st?
I did.
Okay. So you had an opportunity to speak with her?
Yes.
You had an opportunity to Mirandize her prior to conducting that interview?
Yes.
And I only want to ask you one question about that interview, deputy or detective. Did she indicate where she was headed on April 20th?
Birthday party at the boat club.
Okay. Further on in your investigation the next day, on April 22nd, do you have opportunity to execute a search warrant on the defendant's house?
We did.
And what were you roughly looking for at the defendant's home?
We had known that they had surveillance cameras at the residence, and so we were looking for a DVR or NVR, digital video recorder.
When you arrived at the residence, were you able to locate cameras?
Yes.
How many cameras?
4.
And where were they located on the property?
So one was on the interior of the house in the kitchen. Another one was on the barn across the street. And then there were 2 on the garage, one facing the main entry door of the residence, and then one on the driveway where the vehicles were parked.
Okay. Were those cameras wireless, corded?
They were wireless.
Okay. Were you able to find where they were connected?
Yes.
Where were they connected to in the home?
So basically the DVR, which was wireless, was in a upstairs utility room, for lack of better words. And it was upstairs there we're at a monitor also with it displaying the videos.
Okay. Were you able to access that DVR unit at that time?
No.
Well, let me ask it a different way. Was the DVR functional at that time?
It was functional, yes.
Was it recording at that time?
It was.
Were you able to ascertain whether it was connected to the cameras you saw?
It was.
How did you go about doing that?
So basically just looking at the current live video and comparing it to the surroundings, the vehicles that were there, our vehicles that were near the driveway, stuff like that.
Okay. What was the manner of the recording? Was it continuous, motion sensitive?
So later we found out that it was motion activated.
The videos that you were viewing at the home, did the DVR have a timestamp?
It did.
And were you able to check that timestamp for accuracy?
Yes.
How do you go about doing that, Detective?
Easiest way, you look at the timestamp on the screen and then look at your phone. And it was an hour slow. So basically 2 o'clock on the DVR would be 3 o'clock. Okay.
Do you have experience with similar video recording devices as the one you located at the defendant's home?
Yes.
And what is that experience roughly?
Basically throughout my career, approximately 9 years of investigations, we always go out and we collect surveillance footage. And a lot of DVRs, they may be different, but how you get the video off of them is similar. And so if you can get into a DVR, you can extract the video most of the times.
Okay. So you viewed live video while you were at the defendant's home?
Yes.
Check the timestamp?
Yes.
Did you then seize the DVR?
We did.
Okay. And were you able to examine it and try and find past videos?
Yes.
Did you find any videos from around the time of the crash at the Swan Boat Club?
We did.
And were you able to extract those from the DVR?
Yes.
Did you make copies of those portions of the recorded video?
Yes.
Did you place those into evidence?
We did.
Have you had an opportunity to review those recordings prior to court today?
Yes.
And the recordings that have been placed on People's Proposed Exhibit 8, are those the same as the ones you extracted from that digital video recorder?
Yes.
Judges, this time people would move to admit People's 8 surveillance videos from the defendant's home.
Your Honor, we would reserve at this time just to see the video, hear it, and then make a decision.
I'll reserve ruling on the motion.
All right. Detective, you mentioned 4 cameras at the home. You've had an opportunity to review this exhibit, is that right?
Yes.
And what camera angles are we going to see on this video?
So specifically, you're going to see the one facing the main entry door of the residence, and then also the one on the barn, which is across the street, which gets the street and basically the driveway and a little bit of the home also.
Okay. And from around what time and what date are these recordings?
April 20th, 420. And so timestamp on the video is going to be approximately right around 2 o'clock, like 1:57 to 2 o'clock. But in real time, that would have been 2:57 or 3 o'clock.
And Detective, your role in this investigation, do you know what time the crash at the Swan Boat Club was?
Right at 3 o'clock.
Okay. At this time, we move to Crawford.
You may proceed.
You don't know if she's walking that way because of her age and health or because she's intoxicated. That's the only problem.
In what view is this, deputy or detective? Sorry.
So this is the camera across the street on the barn.
I wish they could zoom in on it. Holy crap. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh, she's done. After seeing that, she's done.
And detective, if you can tell us, that's the defendant's driveway we're seeing in that.
Yes,
And about how far is that from the Swan Boat Club?
approximately 500 feet.
No further questions for the detective sergeant, Judge.
Cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. You've had opportunity to review my client's criminal history, am I correct?
Yes.
Objection, Judge. I can't imagine the relevance of this.
Okay.
Response.
I'll withdraw. Did you get a chance to review her driving history?
Objection, same objection.
Response.
I'll withdraw.
Sustained. Don't continue down this line, Mr. Clovis.
I understand, Judge. Now, do you have any proof whatsoever, any at all, that my client didn't have a seizure when she took off in the vehicle that you just showed us?
Objection calls for speculation.
He can answer whether he does or not. Maybe he does. We won't know until he answers.
Overruled. You may answer the question.
Can you guys say that question again, please?
Okay, do you have any reason not to believe that my client had a seizure that day?
Objection, it's a confusing question. It's a double negative. People would also object to relevance.
Your Honor.
Please rephrase the question.
Okay, thank you, Judge. Do you know if my client had a seizure at the moment that car took off in the video?
I wasn't in the car.
So the answer, I suppose, would be you don't know if she had a seizure. Is that correct?
I would not be able to answer that, no.
That's a fair answer. Are you aware of my client having a history of neuropathy?
Yes.
Did you go and check her while you're investigating this case as a detective, her medical records and her inpatient records back to November?
I believe we did do a search warrant for medical records, yes.
And was there confirmation that my client suffered from neuropathy?
I didn't look through the medical records.
Did you see anything that talked about her having any other medical problems like seizures?
The only medical
Objection, Judge. I guess if there's records that Mr. Clovis wants to present as to his client's medical history, this is not the appropriate witness to get those in through. He's free to call a medical witness on his own if that's evidence that he wants to get in at this stage of the proceedings.
I'm not asking to get any records in. The detective said he did a search warrant. He got the records. He's the officer in charge. And is there anything about seizures? That's within his knowledge.
With the answer, he had not reviewed the records. Is that correct?
That's correct, Judge.
And you're the detective in charge of the case?
No.
Who's the detective?
Detective Modelinsky.
I don't have any other questions.
Can you redirect from the people?
No, Judge. Thank you.
May the witness be excused.
All right, so while they're taking a break, let me go over this really quickly with you guys. You've got a 30-year-old woman, an 11-year-old boy were in critical condition following it, while a 14-year-old boy, a 16-year-old girl, and an 18-year-old woman were in serious condition. Women ages 57, 62, 66, and 70 were treated for minor injuries. 2 children, which was 4-year-old Zane Phillips and his 8-year-old sister Alana, were killed in the crash. Now, the defendant is 66 years old.
You know, watching the videos, reading the comments, hearing what happened, it just heart-wrenching. I can't imagine for a father or mother to lose 2 children.
And we continue our team coverage at 6 tonight as we've learned the names of the 2 siblings killed when an alleged intoxicated driver slammed through a building and into a children's birthday party. That was on Saturday.
And 4-year-old Zane Phillips and 8-year-old Alana Phillips were pronounced dead at the scene of the crash. One of their family members still fighting for her life as we check in right now with 13 Action News reporter Sophie Bates. Sophie.
Yeah, Lee, we've been talking with one of Zane and Alana's family members. They tell us that the mother of those 2 children is still in the hospital in critical condition. The oldest brother of those 2 siblings is also in the hospital. He has broken bones and a collapsed lung, according to that family member, but he is expected to make a recovery. According to officials, a 31-year-old female and an 11-year-old male are still in critical condition. A 14-year-old male, as well as a 16 and 18-year-old females, are also in serious condition. 5 others, all over the age of 40, have minor injuries. We also know Verna's Tavern is under investigation. According to Sheriff Troy Goodenough, the tavern is just a few miles down the road from the boat club where that crash happened. The sheriff says that they believe the driver in this crash was at that tavern before the crash. The tavern's lawyer said in a statement, quote, "We are saddened beyond words by the news of this horrible tragedy."
Okay, hang on just a second. What does she left her house like that, right? Then she went to Verna's Tavern, and then she did the boat club. Then she hit the boat club, or did she hit the boat club right after she drove off from her house? My understanding was she was doing it on her way back, right? And also, there were rumors swirling that she was mad at her husband or something, and so she was angry because he was going to be at the boat club. He was supposed to be there probably at the bar at the boat club or something. Anyway, if anybody in the comments is more familiar with that, please let me know. I know Patty's from this area and she's really stayed on top of this case.
Today at approximately 3 p.m. Eastern Time, emergency personnel were dispatched to 6332 Branchaw Road in Berlin Township, County of Monroe, regarding a motor vehicle that struck a building at the Swan Boat Club. The vehicle struck the north wall of the facility, entering the building, and came to rest approximately 25 feet inside the building, where a young child's birthday party was being held. Upon arrival, first aid was provided to approximately 15 victims, which included adults and young children. 9 of those victims were transported by ambulance and/or medical helicopter to local hospitals with serious life-threatening injuries. A total of 3 children and 6 adults were transported. Several others were transported by private vehicle to local hospitals. Unfortunately, in tragedy, 2 of the victims were pronounced deceased at the scene. This includes an 8-year-old female and a 5-year-old male, who are siblings of each other. The 66-year-old female driver of the vehicle, who will not be identified at this time, has been taken into police custody for operating while intoxicated, causing death, and she's lodged at the Monroe County Jail. Additional criminal charges will likely be brought against the driver as the investigation proceeds. At this time, investigators are continuing to process evidence at the scene, identify victims, interview witnesses, and reunite family members. The scene was described by the first responders as extremely chaotic, with high level of emotions of those directly involved and those who witnessed this horrific incident. With me today are members of emergency first responders who were at the scene dealing with this tragedy. That includes Berlin Township Fire Department, Frenchtown Township Fire Department, Monroe Township Fire Department, Rockwood Fire Department, Monroe Community Ambulance, Huron Valley Ambulance, and the University of Michigan Survival Life Flight, who dispatched 2 helicopters. I'm going to remind everybody, this is an active investigation, with the Monroe County Sheriff's Office being the lead investigation agency, our Traffic Services Division, our Detective Bureau, our Youth Services Division, evidence technicians, our drone team, and our chaplain service. We were assisted at the scene by members of the Monroe Public Safety Department's Accident Investigation Team, Detective Bureau, Chaplain Services, along with the Washtenaw County Sheriff's Office, Accident Investigation Team, and the Michigan State Police. That's all I have today.
So I just had a question that I was thinking about is when because I do think this is going to end up obviously in court. We're going to get to hear all these different witnesses in that tavern talk about her. Now, that time of the day, I can't imagine it was too full. But if you're talking about an area where there's a lot of retired people, it could be. It could be. So I would really like to hear. I wonder if she's like a functional drunk. You know what I'm talking about? Like, because she didn't seem to be slurring so much when she was talking in that video. But at the same time, it's like, it's kind of hard to tell, really. She had a way about her where you could tell she was really trying hard to sound correct, if that makes sense. It was just the way that she was speaking and pronouncing her words as she was trying, kind of like that, kind of like I'm doing now. I don't know. Let's see if it's back. Yeah, they're back.
Lieutenant, if you could state your name and spell your name for the record. Brian Quinn, Brianquinn. You may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. Judge, at this time, people are going to admit a stipulated exhibit, People's 9, which is the Bosch CDR download from defendant's 2017 Ford Edge.
No, for the record, that's been stipulated, be admitted by the parties, and it is admitted.
Wait, is he talking about her dash camera? She had dash camera?
Good morning, sir.
Lieutenant, what do you do for a living?
I am a lieutenant for the Monroe County Sheriff's Office.
How long have you worked for the Monroe County Sheriff's Office?
24 years.
Okay. Is that your entire law enforcement career?
No.
Where else have you worked?
In New Jersey.
Okay. As a peace officer there too?
Yes.
How long did you work there?
10 years.
So you've been a police officer for 34 plus years?
Yes, sir.
What is your role in the Sheriff's Department right now?
I am technically, I oversee several divisions within the Sheriff's Office, the Traffic Services Division, the Expediter's Office, and our Civil Division.
Okay. Lieutenant, what is the Traffic Services Division?
The Traffic Services Division, we have sheriff's deputies that are assigned to enforce traffic laws on secondary roadways within the County of Monroe. We also investigate serious and fatal traffic crashes.
Okay. Prior to your position as lieutenant, were you the lead of the Traffic Services Division?
I was as a sergeant, and I am as a lieutenant.
Okay. In total, how long have you been the lead of the Traffic Services Division?
Since 2019.
As a result of that, you've received a lot of specialized training in traffic services.
I have.
Accident reconstruction.
I have.
And the retrieval and interpretation of electronic data recording. Is that correct?
Correct.
And Judge, we have a second stipulation here with defense that the court qualify Lieutenant Quinn as an expert in electronic data recording analysis.
That's correct, Your Honor. It's stipulated to for prelim purposes. Thank you.
He is so qualified.
Thank you, Judge. Lieutenant, do you have a copy of the People's Exhibit 9?
I do.
And is that a report from the EDR of defendant's 2017 Ford Edge?
It is.
How did you come about that document?
This document was given to me by Deputy Nicholas Burkhardt.
And do you know how he obtained it?
Deputy Burkhardt is a technician for Bosch, meaning he can image the information off of the event data recorder, but he is not an analyst. I am, so he would have to give the report to me to read.
Okay. What's the difference there, Lieutenant?
The technician basically will do the image. They will just briefly look over the report. They will look at ignition cycles, but the analyst covers the entire report. We look at the braking, steering, percentage of throttle, miles per hour.
Okay. So let's back up just a little bit. Just for the record, explain what a EDR is as it relates to a vehicle.
The EDR is an event data recorder. It's known as black box, if you will. It captures information while a vehicle is in motion. If a vehicle is involved in a traffic crash, if there's airbag deployment, the information will become locked on the EDR itself. However, if a vehicle is involved in a crash where there is no airbag deployment, but it was enough motion within the vehicle to wake up the EDR, It could capture that information, but at times the information will be overwritten.
To that end, Lieutenant, what's the difference between, say, a controlled stop and a crash that brings a vehicle to a stop?
Control stop is one, an operator applying the brake. A non-control stop is one who crashes into another vehicle, building, pole, etc.
Okay. And so when there's a crash into a building, pole, etc., what does that do as it pertains to the electronic data recorder?
Well, again, if there is airbag deployment, it will lock in that information at the time what that vehicle was doing at that moment when the vehicle crashed.
Okay. And was there airbag deployment in this crash?
I believe so. But there was 2 events captured on this record.
As to the
There had to have been.
Your Honor, just let the record reflect that he's refreshing his memory by looking at notes.
Yes, then please refer to your notes and then answer after that.
Yes. May I reflect?
She had to have had the bags turned off for them not to come on with that impact. And also, she would have been a lot worse in condition if they didn't go off. She walked away with a sprained arm or a broken arm. And that was probably from the airbag.
Okay. So that would be,
Yeah, there were airbags. Okay.
folks in traffic services would term a triggering event.
Yes.
And explain what a triggering event is.
So that can incorporate many factors. If a vehicle is in motion and, for instance, a deer would jump out in front of the roadway and an operator would veer their vehicle to the left or to the right, the event data recorder, usually it's always sleeping. That will wake up the data recorder. The data recorder is basically saying to itself, something's happening here, we need to start to record. It will start to record for a little bit. However, if the vehicle continues in motion and there's no impact, the EDR will go back to sleep, basically. But when there's airbag deployment, the EDR will lock in all the information that the vehicle was doing at the time of impact.
Okay. What kind of information does it lock in?
Braking speed, acceleration, steering, percentage of throttle, if lights were activated, seatbelt activation.
For what?
Your microphone got uncentered.
This guy?
Yeah.
Sorry, thank you. And for what period of time does it record these statuses of the vehicle?
Every vehicle is different. I've seen some recordings or images where it could be 10 seconds pre-impact and 5 seconds post, or 5 seconds pre and 5 seconds post. So every vehicle is different.
You keep using the term image. What does that mean as it relates to a EDR?
Basically, we're taking a picture of what the EDR has stored. We're not downloading anything. We're just taking an image of it.
So that data exists on the EDR, and the term that analysts use is image it to retrieve that information.
Correct.
What about this EDR, Lieutenant? What kind of information does it record? Or let's ask it this way. How long does this EDR record?
5 seconds pre-impact.
Okay. Does this EDR record throttle percentage?
It does.
What is throttle percentage?
Basically, how much pressure your foot is on the gas.
Okay. And so if I'm understanding your testimony, this image, this report, should tell us how much throttle percentage was applied to the gas of this vehicle for 5 seconds before the crash.
Correct.
Do you have the exhibit in front of you?
I do.
Do you see the section that refers to the throttle percentage?
I do.
Can I have some clarifications? The first crash or the second crash?
I'm sorry. So, Lieutenant, this is referring to the second event captured on the event data recorder, correct?
Correct.
And all the questions I ask you subsequently will be about the second event.
Correct.
Okay. Just to lay a little foundation here, Lieutenant, did you have an opportunity to review this case in its entirety?
I have.
And are you familiar with the real world happenings that caused the events on this EDR?
Yes.
And you indicate there's two events. What was the real world happening that caused the first event to be recorded?
The operator was involved in a previous traffic crash.
And do you know the nature of that?
I do.
And what was it?
It was a vehicle that was in motion in reverse that struck another vehicle.
Okay. And that's the first event that EDR imaged?
Correct.
And it also imaged a second event?
Correct.
And do you know what the real world happening was that caused that image to be locked in on the EDR?
I do.
And what was that?
A motor vehicle striking a building.
Okay. And to the best of your knowledge and understanding, that building's the Swan Boat Club, right?
Correct.
So turning back to the report itself, do you have the section on throttle in front of you?
I do.
Or throttle percentage, I should say. Lieutenant, how does that, so it records back 5 seconds. Is that right?
Correct.
And then how does it give you that data?
So when the vehicle struck the building, of course, that crash was recorded. So the EDR itself can record 5 seconds prior to that event taking place. So that's the information that I've received on this document.
And then does it show you, at 5 seconds on down to the crash?
It does.
Okay. And then if you could tell the court for each, what increments of time does it record?
Half a second.
Okay. Could you review the exhibit and proffer for the court what the throttle percentage is for each of those time increments prior to the crash?
At -5 seconds, 0. -4.5 seconds, 59.3%. -4 seconds, 0. -3.5 seconds, 80.1%. 3 seconds, 82%. 2.5 seconds, 0. 2 seconds, 100%. -1.5, 0. -1.0, 97.9%. -0.5, 97.0%. And 0, which is the point of impact, is 96.6%.
So at the time, how do you interpret that as to what throttle percentage, or what's the real world implication of that, Lieutenant? Let's just ask it that way.
From my training, anything that's 70% or higher, 70 to 100, is actually 100%.
What do you mean by that?
The gas pedals to the floor.
Okay.
Gas pedals to the floor.
Does this event data recorder record braking?
It does.
Does that report have a section on braking?
It does.
And what does it report? What real world event does it show within the image?
It recorded every half of a second from 5 seconds to the point of impact.
And what does it indicate about braking? Is it a percentage? What information does it relay?
Whether or not the brakes were engaged, it's either on or off.
Okay. At any point in the 5 seconds prior to this crash, does the report reflect that the brakes were engaged?
Yes.
And if you could, Lieutenant, going through the 5 seconds, again, give us the indication time-wise whether or not the brakes were engaged in this event.
-0.5 seconds off. -4.5 seconds off. -4 seconds off. -3.5 seconds off. -3 seconds off. negative 2.5 seconds, off. Negative 2, on. Negative 1.5 seconds, off. Negative 1.0 seconds, off. Negative 0.5 seconds, off. 0, point of impact, off.
Lieutenant, does this event data recorder also record speed?
It does.
Okay. First of all, I'll ask you this. You know that this, you're familiar with the scene of this crash.
I am.
And that it takes place in a parking lot. You familiar with that?
I am.
Do you know what the statutory speed limit in a parking lot is?
So looking at the video and the roadway itself, Branshaw Road actually runs between the parking lot and the building itself. So that's considered still the roadway where the vehicle was being operated on. What we have here is a private road. So with private roads, the HOA, homeowners association, or any other type of association have to have something within their deeds, an HOA agreement regarding speed. So at one time, I do recall seeing a 10 mile per hour sign, which is yellow. Now, yellow is a caution speed. Somebody, I assume, put up a 10 mile an hour speed limit that's black and white, which can be confusing with a state colored speed limit like 25 in a residential. So being that Branshaw is a private road, because it does say a private road could be 25 miles per hour, that even private or not, an operator has to operate their vehicle carefully and prudent so they can maintain control of their vehicle. So where the vehicle curves to the right prior to impact, the vehicle was still on Branshaw Road, which would be 25 miles per hour.
Statutorily 25?
Yes.
Okay. So do you have the section on speed that's contained in the event data recorder report in front of you?
I do.
And if you could just go through one last time, Lieutenant, and indicate to us what the defendant's speed was 5 seconds prior to the impact and on down.
Negative 5 seconds, 29.5 miles per hour. Negative 4.5 seconds, 29.6 miles per hour. Negative 4 seconds, 30.3 miles per hour. Negative 3.5 seconds, 3.6 miles per hour. Negative 3 seconds, 30.7 miles per hour. Negative 2.5 seconds, 31.7 miles per hour. Negative 2 seconds, 32.9 miles per hour. Negative 1.5 seconds, 35.5 miles per hour. Negative 1 second, 37.8 miles per hour. Negative 0.5 seconds, 40.9 miles per hour. 0, point of impact, 44.3 miles per hour.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Judge, I don't have any further questions.
Cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sir, I got a little confused on the what's a public road, what's not a public road as to this area. Could you please just explain it to me? The road in front, you know where my client lives?
I do.
Okay. The road, the gravel road that's in front of her house, is that a public road or private road?
Private.
Okay. And the parking lot that that's in front of the Swan Boat Club, is that private?
The parking lot itself would be private, but Branshaw, again, runs through the parking lot and the building. So reviewing the video from the crash, to me, she was still on Branshaw Road and then leaves the roadway and then crashes into the building.
All right. Just so I understand it, and I've driven there a few times. If I go down this gravel road in front of my client's house, what's the name of that road?
Branshaw Road.
Okay, and that's a private road?
Correct.
Okay. And then if the car, as in the video, veers a little bit to the left and strikes Swan Boat Club, that's a parking lot that it's veering over where cars park, correct?
I believe
where the curve is, negotiating the curve to the left would be the private parking lot for Swan Boat Club, but the vehicle veered to the right, off of the roadway and into the building.
Okay, that's correct. So that's all private, am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, so right to the building from her house is all private roadway.
Correct.
Okay, all right. I don't have any other questions.
Any redirect from the people?
Just briefly about the parking lot versus roadway issue. So Deputy Quinn, or Lieutenant Quinn, you've been to the scene, is that correct?
Not the night that it occurred, but a few nights after.
Okay, so you've had opportunity to personally view the parking lot of the boat club and Branchall Road?
I have.
Okay, and is that paved at all?
It is not.
Is it lined at all?
It is not.
Are there parking spaces or lane markers?
There are not.
So is it fair to say that the Branchall Road blends into the parking lot of the Swan Boat Club?
That's a fair statement.
Okay, nothing further, Judge.
Any reprocess to those questions?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. So when the prosecutor said that Branchall Road blends into the parking lot, what do you understand that as, blends?
It's all dirt. There's no markings that show a shoulder or a specific parking spot, space, a loading zone.
And I guess the bottom line is that the parking lot and that roadway is all private gravel, correct? Is that what you said earlier?
Private dirt from what I remember.
Okay, thank you. No questions.
No follow-up to that, Judge. Thank you.
May the witness be excused.
Yep.
By the people as well. Thank you.
Yes, Your Honor.
Free to go. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Okay, so I guess there is a part 2 to this hearing. There's nobody telling you what's going on. They're just going in and out. This is Fox 2 Detroit. It doesn't seem like there's a whole lot more left here, maybe a few more minutes. So let's finish watching.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Me too.
Please state your name and spell your name for the record.
Diane Medina. DianeMedina.
Tina, would you like a glass of water during your testimony?
No, I'm okay.
People may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Medina, are you familiar with the Swan Boat Club?
Yes,
How are you familiar with it?
I'm a member of Swan Boat Club.
And were you there on April 20th of this year?
I was.
What brought you to the boat club on that day?
I was there for a child's birthday party.
And are you related to the child? What brought you to the birthday party?
I know the mother of the child.
Friends with the
Just
mom.
a friend, yes.
Okay. Do you know approximately what time you arrived at the birthday party?
About 10 minutes to 1.
And do you remember where you were prior to the crash?
I was sitting at a table against the back wall where the car entered.
And can you describe the situation prior to the crash?
It was a beautiful party. I mean, the mother of the child did an amazing job and everybody was having a great time. It was just, any 3-year-old would have been happy to have that birthday party.
Do you remember anything about the crash?
Yes,
Can you tell me what you remember about the crash?
I remember hearing a super loud, sounded like an explosion. I remember seeing like white dust, peripheral vision, and I felt something hit my back and pushed me.
Do you know if you lost consciousness?
I do not.
And were you injured as a result of that crash?
Yes, I was.
Do you know what injuries you sustained?
My pelvis was broken in 6 places. I had internal bleeding. My nose was crushed. A hematoma on my right arm. A laceration to my head. And some other things I can't think of anything else.
Did you have a closed head injury?
Yes,
And were you taken to the hospital on that day?
I was.
Do you know what hospital you were taken to?
Originally, I was taken to Monroe.
Did you stay at Monroe?
I did not.
Do you know where you were taken after that?
I was taken by ambulance to Toledo.
Was this all the same day?
Yes, it
Okay.
was.
Were you admitted to the Toledo Hospital?
Yes, I was.
Do you know approximately how long you were there?
I was there approximately, I was in the hospital for 17 days. I think I was at Toledo for 10.
Okay. Were you at a different hospital after Toledo then?
I went to a rehab facility in Taylor.
How are you doing today?
I've been better.
Understandable. Are you able to walk?
I can take steps with the help of a walker.
Are you in any pain at the moment?
Yes,
Do you take pain medication?
I do.
Does it affect your ability to testify today?
I didn't take it this morning.
Do you have issues sitting or standing for long periods of time?
I do.
What do you have? What is that issue?
My tailbone hurts, my hips hurt, and when I stand for a long period of time, my back hurts.
Were you employed prior to the crash?
I was.
How so?
I was a quality control for Hollingsworth.
Are you employed now?
I am not.
Are
Well, I'm still employed, but I'm on a medical leave.
You're not working. You're unable to work.
Right.
And that is by your doctor's orders?
Yes,
Are you in any therapy?
I am.
What kind of therapy are you taking?
I do physical therapy 3 times a week. I do a speech therapy 3, and I do one time.
The speech therapy for?
The speech therapy, finding my words. Sometimes in the middle of a conversation, I'll in a thought and forget what we.
Is that related to the head?
Yes.
Judge, at this time, we would draw the court's attention to Exhibit 14, the medical records for Diane Medina. These were previously submitted to the court by stipulation of the parties. I have no further questions for this witness, Judge.
That exhibit is admitted due to stipulation. Cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just have one, ma'am. Injuries that you have suffered were all result with regard to the accident. In other words, you didn't suffer from any of these prior to it. Is that
No,
correct?
I did not.
Thank you. I don't have any other questions, Your Honor.
Will you redirect from the people?
No, nothing further, Judge.
May this witness be excused.
People excuse the witness, Judge.
Yes, Your Honor.
You are free to go. Thank you.
So I guess these are the people who, I mean, yeah, this poor lady, I mean, people lost their lives, and this woman, she's damned for life from this crash. But, you know, nobody was talking about that because of the babies. Everybody was so upset about the babies. So I wonder if this is all new to the judge, if he knew all these different victims were involved.
You solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Yes. Please be seated. Please state your name and spell your name.
Edward Smothers.
And would you please spell?
EWARDSMOUTHERS.
And how old are you?
14.
And you understand the difference between a truth and a lie?
Yeah.
And if I was to say that my rope here was green, would that be a truth or a lie? The objection to qualifying him as a witness.
Not from the people, Judge.
He's qualified. You may
Thank you.
proceed.
Good afternoon, Edward. I'm Ken Lorraine from the prosecutor's office. When you're testifying, they're making a recording of this, so you have to keep your voice up a little bit, okay?
Okay.
And you have to answer yes or no, not or nah, or shake your head or things like that, okay?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Smothers, do you remember going to a birthday party on April 20th of this year?
Yes.
Do you remember if that was at the Swan Boat Club?
Yes.
Do you remember anything happening that day that was unusual that brought you here today to testify? What do you remember?
All I remember is hearing a loud bang and then waking up on the floor.
Okay.
Your Honor, if the witness could just speak up a little bit louder. Thank you, Your Honor.
If you could, please.
Can you just repeat that just a little bit louder?
All I remember is hearing a loud bang and then waking up on the floor.
Okay. Do you remember where you were at before the bang?
No, I don't.
Okay. Do you remember where you ended up?
In the walkway from where you get to where the birthday party was.
Okay, like in a hallway or a breezeway?
Yeah, hallway.
Okay. Were you able to walk after the bang after you got thrown?
No.
Okay. Did paramedics and ambulance eventually come?
Yeah.
Is that yes?
Yes. Sorry.
That's okay. Did you end up riding in an ambulance?
Yes.
Where did they take you?
I don't know the name of the hospital.
It was a hospital though?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you have to stay in the hospital or were you released that day?
I had to stay in the hospital.
Do you know how long?
All I know is it was a couple days.
Okay. Do you know what your injuries were? What was wrong with you?
Broken femur.
And broken femur?
Yeah.
Okay. And what did they do for that? Did they put you in a cast or?
Surgery. They put a metal rod in my heart.
Okay. Is that still in there as far as you know? Do you have any other injuries that you know of?
Not that I know of.
Judge, I don't have any other questions for this witness.
I don't have any questions, Your Honor.
May the witness be excused.
Yes, thank you, Judge.
Yes, Your Honor.
You're free to go. Thank you.
Oh, Judge, at this time, people would redraw the court's attention to previously admitted Exhibit 13, medical records for Edward Smothers. Those were admitted by stipulation to the court earlier this week.
I don't know if this had anything with him walking out slowly, but a broken femur or thigh bone is a serious injury that requires immediate medical attention. It can be caused by severe trauma, blah, blah, blah. What I wanted to see what the treatments were for it. Yeah, it just requires surgery. Maybe they brought in a bunch of children to testify, and that's why, or the family, and the family refused to be on camera. The mother and father that lost their daughter and son. That might be why there was this cut in time on this hearing.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Please state your name and spell your name.
My name is Leah Stith, and that is spelled Liaith.
Your last name?
Stith, Stith.
How old are you, Stith?
I'm 18 years old.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. Leah, we're recording this today, so as best as you can, if you could speak up, I would appreciate that. Thank you. Are you familiar with Swan Boat Club?
Absolutely.
How are you familiar with the boat club?
We've been going there for years and years.
As members?
Yeah, as members, I've both been there.
And were you there on April 20th?
Yep.
And what brought you to the boat club on April 20th?
It was my little cousin's birthday party.
Do you know approximately what time you would have arrived?
I would say around 2:30.
And do you remember where you were prior to the crash?
I was at the buffet area just getting food for me and my little sister.
You were standing then?
Is that a yes?
Yes.
And what do you remember about the crash itself?
It was very abrupt. It was pretty close to an explosive scene. And it was just chaos everywhere, and all you could hear was babies crying, everyone screaming. There's plenty of people injured. I actually could barely move at the time, so I wasn't able to look around too much, but once I was able to move, that's what I had seen.
Were you injured in the crash?
Pretty severely.
And how were you injured? Do you recall?
I have 3 broken ribs, a punctured lung, a pretty severely broken sternum, and multiple hematomas.
Did you receive any treatment on that day?
Yes, I was rushed to the hospital.
Do you know what hospital you were taken to?
Corwell Health in Trent.
And were you admitted to that hospital?
Yep.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
And did you stay there overnight?
Yes.
Did you stay there for multiple nights?
Multiple nights.
Do you know how many nights you stayed?
I believe 2 nights and 3 days.
How are you currently doing?
It's definitely been a back and forth process. The healing just now starting to really take effect, which it's been a lot longer than I would have liked, but it's difficult to try and go about my days like I didn't just witness something extremely horrific.
That's understandable. Are you currently working? Are you able to work?
No, I'm not able to work.
The doctor has said you cannot.
Yeah.
Were you working prior to the accident?
Yes, 50 hours a week.
Are you in any sort of therapy, physical or psychological?
I'm in art therapy as well as talk therapy.
Judge, at this time, we draw the court's attention to Exhibit 12, the medical records for Leah Stitz, which were admitted to and stipulated to by the parties.
Exhibit 12 is admitted by stipulation.
I have no further questions for this witness, Judge.
Cross-examination.
No questions.
Will the witness be excused?
Yes, Judge.
You're free to go. Thank you. People may call their next witness.
Thank you, Judge. People call Mariah Dodds.
Please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
You may be seated. Please state your name and spell your name for the record.
Mariah Dodds, MariahDodds.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. Good afternoon, Ms. Dodds. Ms. Dodds, do you remember where you went on April 20th of this year?
I went to my godson's 3rd birthday party.
Okay. And that was held at the Swan Boat Club in Newport, Michigan?
Yeah.
And that's in the County of Monroe, right?
Yes.
Did you drive there that day?
Yes.
And roughly, if you could tell us, where is the Swan Boat Club?
It's in Newport.
Like in Newport
On
Lake
Branchy
Erie?
Road.
Okay.
Yeah.
In getting there, do you have to be let in? Are there any gates or fences that impede your getting there?
No.
Okay, is it just an open road, anybody can just drive in?
Yes.
And that's what you did that day?
Yes.
Who did you bring to the birthday party with you that day?
Myself, my mother, my 3 children, Jaden, Alana, Zane, and my nephew, Edward.
So something out of the ordinary happened at the birthday party. Do you remember anything about that?
I felt like I was blacked out. I don't remember nothing.
Okay.
I just remember hearing 3 voices. That was it.
Okay. Do you remember the birthday party prior to an unusual event?
Yeah.
Do you remember where you were sitting? What your last memory of before you blacked out was?
Yeah.
What's your last memory?
I was walking back to the table my children were sitting at, beat him and thing.
Okay. Remember hearing a crash? Remember where you wound after the crash?
No.
You said you voices.
Yeah.
Is that all you remember from the scene of the crash?
Yeah.
Do you know whose voices they were?
I believe they were my sister Raquel, my friend Tweety, and it may have been my niece Lily. So between those three.
What was the nature of those voices? How did they sound?
They sounded long distance.
And do you remember anything else from the scene that day?
No.
What's your next memory?
Waking up in the hospital.
Okay. Did you know where you were?
Kind of. I had my eyes squinted and I seen the surroundings, knowing that I was in a hospital room.
Okay. Was anyone with you?
My sister Raquel.
Do you know how long after the crash you initially woke up?
No.
Do you know how long you were in the hospital in total?
My sister and my family members told me it was 3 days or 4 days.
Okay.
4 days.
And you don't know how long you were out of consciousness?
No.
Did you receive any injuries as a result of the crash?
Yes.
What were those?
I had 6 broken ribs, a collapsed lung. I was missing a tooth, I had mouth injuries. I had a cut on my chin. My lips had to be stitched back together. I had a hematoma. I had a broken shoulder blade. And I had a concussion.
Are you still dealing with those injuries or are they all healed?
I'm sore still, but I'm getting therapy.
Do you have any trouble breathing still from the ribs in your lung?
It's discomfort.
Okay. Was there any intervention for the collapsed lung? Did they do anything to your body because of that?
I had a chest tube put in
Okay. Like through your throat or?
through my rib cage.
Okay. So they had to cut you to put a chest tube into your lung?
Yes.
Your son Jaden was with you at the party.
Yes.
Do you have recollection of him being at the table with you and Zane and Alana?
I am not sure.
Okay. What's your last memory of Jaden and his location before the crash?
He was, I want to say close by the table, but he wasn't sitting at the table.
And he's your son, correct?
Yes.
And how old is he?
12.
Okay. And do you know if Jaden was hospitalized as a result of the crash?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know how long Jaden was hospitalized?
2 weeks.
Okay. What injuries did he receive?
He had broken ribs. He had several broken bones through his body, on his legs. He had a deep cut in the back of his head. It had to be stapled. He also had a collapsed lung as well as a chest tube. He had a broken pelvis.
Did he have to have any, for lack of a better medical term, hardware put in for the broken bones?
Yes.
What was that?
There were rods put in both of his legs.
Okay. And obviously you had to have surgery for that.
Yes.
Okay. How is Jaden doing now?
He still can't walk.
Okay.
He's in a hospital bed still in our living room.
So you have to have home care for him?
Yeah.
Is he in any kind of therapy right now? Yeah. What kinds?
Physical therapy, occupational therapy, and he has regular nurses that come, and he has appointments outside of the home, get an x-rays to see the status of his injuries, to see what the next step is for him to walk, to try to walk.
Judge, I don't have any further questions.
Jeez, she ruined that family.
I don't have any questions.
May the witness be excused.
Yes, Judge. And Your Honor, at this time, I call the court's attention to the stipulated exhibits. 15 medical records for Mariah Dodds and 16 medical records for Jaden Phillips that were previously submitted to the court through stipulation.
Both are admitted through stipulation.
Thank you, Judge.
That family will never be the same.
Judge, people call Detective Josh Modelinski.
Oh my God, bless her heart.
You solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
You may be seated. Detective, please state and spell your name.
Detective Josh Modelinski, JOSHMOTYLINSKI.
People may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. Detective, it's redundant, but what is your job?
I'm a detective with the Monroe County Sheriff's Office.
Okay, how long have you been a detective?
I've been a detective just over 2.5 years.
Okay, and how long have you worked for the Monroe County Sheriff's Department?
12 years.
Did you have any other jobs in law enforcement prior to that?
No.
And you were so employed on April 20th of this year?
Yes.
And you're a certified police officer entitled to be a police officer in the state of Michigan?
Yes.
And you were at that time as well?
Yes.
What is your role in this investigation?
I was the detective on call on April 20th. My supervisor, Detective Sergeant Hooper, called me a little after 3 o'clock and advised me of the situation at the Swan Boat Club and asked me to respond from my house in my unmarked patrol vehicle.
Roughly where did you respond from?
My house is located in Temperance, Michigan, right around the area of Lewis and Temperance Road.
Okay. So, and then where's the Swan Boat Club located?
It's up in Newport off of Branshaw Road.
Okay. To get to the boat club, did you face any physical impediments?
The highway, which I typically get on at Pier Road, it was construction for route. Went through the city of Monroe to Elm Street to North Dick, up toward the boat club that way.
Once you got out near the boat club into the neighborhoods that surround it, were there any fences or gates or anything that blocked your entry?
No.
Because the boat club is accessible to the public.
Yes.
Anyone can drive that.
Yes.
So you're the officer in charge of this case, is that correct?
Correct.
So once you arrive on the scene, what do you do first?
I meet with the other deputies and supervisors on scene to get a rundown of the situation, as I was not a first responder. Got a baseline of what kind of happened, and then my job from there was to do the medical examination investigations of the 2 deceased children that were at the scene.
And do you examine the scene as a whole?
Correct. Yes.
From your examination of the scene, are you able, as far as the named victims in this complaint are concerned, able to tell us where within the venue they were located?
After the crash?
After the crash.
Yes, after the crash. Edward Smothers was in the breezeway between the boat club and the bar area of the pavilion, or the pavilion and the bar area of the actual boat club itself, that breezeway. Miss Dodds was also in the breezeway. She was pulled out from underneath a door that had come off the hinges going into the pavilion.
And the other living victims, Miss Stitt, Miss Stina, and Mr. Phillips, where were they located?
Mr. Phillips was located behind the bar in the pavilion towards the front end of where the car had entered in the building and stopped at its location. Miss Medina was against the bar in the pavilion, probably on the ground in, I would approximate the middle area of the bar. And then Miss Stith was also against the bar, farther away from Miss Medina in the car at that towards the end of the bar.
You indicated a moment ago that you did the medical examiner investigation in this case.
Correct.
And what is a medical examiner investigation?
Anytime somebody passes away of unnatural causes and the doctor won't sign a death certificate, one of our detectives who are trained to be a medical examiner investigator have to go out to make sure there's nothing suspicious and basically examine bodies and do a scene overview for the coroner's office so that when we send the bodies down to the coroner's office, the doctors that do the autopsies and such have a understanding of the scene and what happened, the situation by the person became deceased.
Okay, so the idea of the investigation is to give a context to the medical exam.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
And that happens in both crime scenes and non-crime scenes.
Correct.
And this obviously was a crime scene.
Correct.
And you conducted a medical examiner investigation here. Is that correct?
Correct.
And what was the nature of that? What were your findings?
I found there were 2 juvenile decedents that we shipped down to the coroner's office. After the coroner did their autopsies, I received reports back for both Zane and death for Zane.
Well, just 1 second on that. Let's talk about your investigation first a little bit before we get to the results. Where, first as to Zane, where was he located in relationship to the crash? Where was he found?
After the crash occurred, he was located pinned between the front driver's side tire and near the wall area where the car came to a rest.
Okay. Was he still there when detectives and law enforcement arrived?
He was not. Several civilians had lifted the car and pulled him out, and they took him out out of the pavilion where the vehicle entered onto that grass area where medical personnel arrived.
Okay. As to Alana Phillips, where was she eventually located?
Lana was located on the passenger side, front passenger side, near the tires, the front of the car. She was pinned up against the wall, the door frame for the pavilion to the walkway.
And unfortunately, both Zane and Alana were deceased at the scene.
Correct.
Detective, I'm going to hand you what's previously been marked People's Exhibit 10. This is, you just read the top of that and tell me what that is.
So, Lucas County Coroner's Office case summary on the death of Alana Grace Phillips.
Okay. Judge, people believe that this is self-authenticating document under 76611B. Move for its admission.
Your Honor, I thought when we discussed this that I stipulated to the medical examiner's reports that there was, that we'd stipulate to the entry.
Oh, I believe when we did do that, Judge, it's also self-authenticating.
Correct. Stipulated to.
Right. Okay.
It's
Thank you.
admitted for stipulation.
Thank you, Judge. And just as to that, Detective, could you just review that document and proffer for the court what the cause and manner of death is?
Yes. Cause of death is multiple blunt force injuries. The manner of death is accident.
Thank you. Detective, I'll hand you this second document. If you could tell the court what the title of that document is.
Lucas County Coroner's Office case summary on the death of Zane Isaac Phillips.
In your honor, same situation here. People believe it's self-authenticating by statute and it's been stipulated to by defense.
That's correct, Your Honor. We stipulated to it. I think there's a court order to that effect.
Submitted pursuant to stipulation.
Thank you, Judge. And Detective, same thing here. If you could just review that briefly and proffer for the court what the manner and cause of death in this case is.
Cause of death, multiple blunt force trauma, and in parentheses it says second dash minutes. Manner of death, accident.
Thank you, Detective. Judge, I don't have any further questions for the detective.
Let me,
You may proceed.
thank you, Judge. Officer, you said the autopsy reports that you just read, that the manner of death was accidental. Am I correct?
That's what the coroner's office ruled. The manner of death is yes.
I don't have any other questions.
Any redirect?
No redirect, Judge.
You may stand down. People may call their next witness.
Judge, at this time, people have no further evidence to present.
Do the people rest?
People do.
Any witnesses for the defense?
No, Your Honor.
Does the defense rest?
Defense rests.
You may proceed with motion and argument.
Judge, people move to bind over on all 9 counts in the amended complaint. Your Honor, people believe they've established date, venue, and the identification of the defendant. Throughout the course of this exam, the court had an opportunity to view body-worn cameras from Sergeant Bomia and Deputy Karina. In both of those body-worn camera videos, the defendant acknowledges her operation of the vehicle at the time of the crash. People's exhibits from the Michigan State Police Crime Lab indicate an intoxication level of 0.18 blood alcohol. Those lab reports were statutorily admitted. The people also submitted a second lab report that indicates a finding of gabapentin in the defendant's blood at the time of the crash. The ME reports, the medical examiner reports that were just admitted, established the cause and manner of death as to the decedents, Zane and Alana Phillips. Both died as a result of multiple blunt force traumas as a result of a car collision. People believe that the medical records entered and the testimony of the live victims here today establish a serious impairment of body function sufficient to show probable cause for counts 5 through 9. That's taking from MCL 257.58C. People believe that the broken bones, punctured lungs, major bone breaks, loss of consciousness, kind of established by all the victims, qualify as a serious impairment of body function under the statute and meet that element. The medical records, medical examiner's reports, videos, defendant's admissions, and the victim's testimony illustrate that the deaths and injuries in this incident were a direct result of the defendant's operation of the motor vehicle. Defendant's operation was the factual and the proximate cause of the deaths and injuries in this case. People believe there's ample evidence to support a probable cause finding of that conclusion. People believe that that establishes probable cause on counts 3 through 9. As to counts 1 and 2, other than the proofs previously noted, the people have established probable cause that victims Zane and Alana died as a result of defendant's actions. People have established probable cause for the court to find that the defendant knowingly created a very high risk of death or great bodily harm, knowing that death or such harm would be the likely result of her actions. To that end, Judge, evidence presented today shows that defendant possessed a BAC of 0.18, the legal limit in the state of Michigan being 0.08 for an OWI charge and 0.17 for a high BAC OWI charge. Over both of those limits, the defendant acknowledged in her interview with Deputy Karina that she should not have been driving. In People versus Gecky, Judge, 457 Mich 442 1998, the Supreme Court found that both of these factors can be considered by a finder of fact to support a second-degree murder charge in a traffic or drunk driving case. Further, judge evidence was presented that the defendant operated her vehicle at an excessive speed, that being nearly 45 miles an hour through a parking lot or a private drive, where at best the speed limit is 25 miles an hour. Excessive speed was held a factor to support that the defendant created a high risk of death or great bodily harm in People v. Aldridge. That's 246 Mishap 101, 2001 case. Further, judge, defendant left the scene of a property damage accident right in front of her house. That's by backing into her neighbor's truck in front of her driveway. That's the video that the court saw provided by Detective Hoover. In the unrecorded case, judge of People versus Del Piano, a 2012 case by the Michigan Court of Appeals that can be found at Westlaw 304-6157, found this to be a factor supporting second-degree murder charge in an OWI incident. And finally, judge, the Gecki case notes that in cases of this nature, in order to sustain the intent element for second-degree murder, the incident should have an overall egregiousness quality. Here, people point out that the defendant's BAC was not only twice the legal limit, but she also had gabapentin in her system. She acknowledged to Deputy Karina that she was intoxicated. She scored herself a 7 out of 10 for intoxication. Further, the defendant left her home in her condition, knowing that she was traveling to a small child's birthday party. The defendant was aware that there would be small children at the boat club that day, maybe not just inside, but maybe also in the parking lot. This was not an ordinary drunk driving crash, judge. The defendant did not run a red light and strike a car going in the opposite direction. She did not fail to stop in an assured clear distance and rear end someone. She drove her car at almost 45 miles an hour through a building where dozens of people, many of them small children, were having a birthday party. People believe that those factors satisfy the overly egregious quality cited by the Supreme Court in Gecki. For that reason, people ask that the court bind over on all 9 counts.
Thank you. Argument from the defense.
Thank you, Your Honor. I think it's unquestioned or substantiated that my client suffered from neuropathy and seizures, that she had a history of it. There was nothing to prove otherwise. The officer testified he received through a subpoena the medicals. They're asking for second-degree murder. Your Honor, second-degree murder has some sort of intent involved. There's been absolutely no intent proven through any of the evidence, stipulated or otherwise. It's either that intends to kill the victim or cause severe harm, and not with premeditation. The statute right on point. So there was no intent by my client whatsoever. And then second is, did my client intend to cause serious bodily harm that death could result? There's no testimony whatsoever that my client operated her vehicle with the intent for that to occur. If this was a crowd in a parking lot, in a street, and she didn't like somebody in the crowd, as an example, and she wanted to hit that person, and she ended up hitting several people or another person, then that would be second-degree murder. There's an intent to operate the vehicle, her vehicle, in such a manner. There is some intent. There was no intent whatsoever here. There's been no proven. In fact, when the officer sat my client down and conducted an interview and had the body camera from the other officer on, my client spoke just like we're speaking today. There was no slur. There was no, what's my thought? I don't know where I'm at. I don't know what's going on. And a slur that would accompany such a high blood level of alcohol. And so I proposed to the court that had the blood sample result properly been, and I understand, Judge, when I say properly, I don't mean to draw anything to the court. The court followed the statute that the results are self-admission, are authenticating. But if the person that did the draw was here, if the person that did the testing was here,
I don't think it would be proper of the .18 or what's been openly thrown about in the courtroom. I asked the officer, was there a seal? And the officer says at first, several times, I don't know. Well, of course there's got to be a seal on these. They have to be sterile. So then finally he did say that there was something white on it, even though he's done this several times. So then I asked him, well, how was it sent? And he didn't have a good memory at all on that. And he's the one that's in charge. He's the one that's in charge of drawing the blood, which is extremely serious of whether proving my client's guilty or not guilty, or should even be charged. If somebody has a history of medical issues, that she was even hospitalized in November of 23. Nobody told her not to drive after 6 months. She waited 6 months and a couple weeks after that to drive. Your Honor, there's just no evidence whatsoever that she acted in a manner that would cause a death. We know for sure that the vehicle was driving at a higher rate of speed, whether it be 43, 44 miles an hour in an area that's 25 or 30 or something like that that was mentioned. There's different speed limits. So that would be about 10 over, 15 over about, depending on what's the correct speed in that area. She didn't, there's no proof that she intentionally put her foot right down there and just go right into the wall. What it does make sense is that she did have a seizure and neuropathy that freezes her feet and hands down seconds wise. That's what it does make sense. Because here's this person with a perfect record in 50 years that all of a sudden is pushing it to the floor to take off, to go right to the boat club where she served as Commodore, where she's going for the birthday party, where she knows everybody there. Just doesn't make sense. Yeah, I understand there's a lot of questions of fact, Your Honor, I respect that, but it's just not a murder too. It just doesn't rise to that. It doesn't, they don't go up to her right afterwards and say, why'd you do it? And she say, that son of a gun, I wanted to get it. Or I'm ticked off at the boat club, or whatever. None of that. She's very calm. So it doesn't rise to the level of this intentional. And that's what it is. It's intentional. The others are general intent, drunk driving and things like that. But this is intentional. The actions have to be, because it carries up to life. So it's going to be pretty serious. And so the actions just aren't there, honestly, Judge. And I don't even think it rises to the level, it's a question of fact. Or else everybody could be charged that there's an accident, somebody seriously hurt with murder too. It's a question of fact for the jury. Judge, respectfully, this shouldn't be a murder too. There's other counts of is there a serious injury and things like that based upon the blood alcohol level of the report itself, and that's it. I understand, and I respect the court on that. But murder too, it's just not there, Judge. And then lastly, I ask questions, is this area open to the public? Because drunk driving on private property, if it wasn't, I dispute it fully. It's on private property and not public. And if I may just have one moment, Your Honor. The police executed the search warrant and found that she had consumed, according to her testimony, 1 glass of wine.
Objection, Judge. I'm sorry, what testimony would that be?
I believe you're stating facts, not an evidence.
Okay, I thought that she had said that she had a glass of wine, and I apologize. I thought that was said. The court would know if it was, and it wasn't, but it's in the report somewhere, but I understand it's not before the court. So They're interviewing her, Your Honor.
She hadn't worn
after
that.
She had just gone through a wall at 44 miles an hour. Now they're interviewing her and they're asking her questions. I don't know if any of us would be in the right state of mind after we just went through a wall with our car at 40 miles an hour. So they're interviewing her, Judge, and they're asking, do you feel you could operate a motor vehicle? Well, of course she said no. I can't operate a motor vehicle. She just was in a collision 15 minutes prior, 20 minutes prior. Then they ask her, alcohol or whatever wise, 1 out of 10, where do you put yourself? She doesn't even just imagine of going through a wall and then 20 minutes later somebody say, how do you feel? Okay, so I don't know about her having her faculties, and I understand that could be a question of fact, certainly, Your Honor. But the murder too, we just really argue strenuously that it just doesn't exist with regard to this record. Thank you. Nothing further.
Any rebuttal argument from the group?
I know the court knows this, but I just draw the court to the third state of mind available in murder two, which is a defendant knowingly created a very high risk of death or great bodily harm, knowing that death or such harm would be the likely result of their actions.
In the operative word, if I may.
People get the.
I'm sorry. I was going to say knowingly.
Right, this is a preliminary examination. The standard of proof is probable cause. I've heard the testimony presented by the people. I've reviewed the exhibits, seen the video. It has, this evidence has been uncontroverted today by the defense. As to count 1 and count 2, homicide, murder in the second degree. The evidence has established by probable cause that both of the victims named in the complaint died an unnatural death due to the crash caused by the defendant. The question then becomes intent. Under common law and under Michigan law, you do not need to intend to kill someone to be convicted of second-degree murder. It can be done with depraved indifference to human life or with depraved heart. And Michigan is defined as knowingly creating a very high risk of death or great bodily harm, knowing that that death or harm would be the likely result of her actions. In this case, the defendant was operating her vehicle with a blood alcohol level of 0.18, as admitted today. She was driving at a high rate of speed, almost 45 miles an hour in a 25 mile an hour area. She did this after she crashed into another vehicle, as the video showed. She was accelerating towards the building where the victims were located. Reviewing those factors, I do find she acted with depraved indifference to human life. Therefore, I am binding over on count 1 and 2, murder in the second degree.
Cool.
As to counts 3 and 4, operating while intoxicated causing death. Times following, defendant was operating a motor vehicle. She did operate it on a place open to the public or generally accessible to motor vehicles. Under the statute, that also includes any designated parking area. The evidence does show that. Third, the defendant was intoxicated. The evidence shows that her blood alcohol level was a 0.17 at the time of the offense. Fourth, the defendant voluntarily decided to drive knowing that she consumed alcohol. The evidence circumstantially does prove that. Fifth, that the defendant's operation of the vehicle caused the death of the 2 main victims as to this case. And that but for the defendant's operation of this vehicle, it would not have occurred. I do find that her actions are the direct and proximate cause of these victims' death. As to counts 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, operating while intoxicated causing serious injury. Incorporate all of my prior findings as to those elements. I also find all of the named victims through their testimony and through the medical evidence shows that there has been a serious impairment of bodily function as defined by MCL 257.58C. Therefore, the defendant is bound over to the 38th Circuit Court to stand trial on all charges. Court's adjourned.
Okay, we saw some justice today, guys.
Court's in recess. May be seated.
Still a long way to go, but I did not know that she was going to the party. And I did a previous report on this case. I just had no idea. I had no idea that she was connected to these people either by friendship. It sounds like he mentioned something about being a Commodore to the boat club. So if she was on the board of the boat club and was representing the boat, that doesn't sound right, but I don't know. And the boat club, just an FYI, it's probably drawn up like a homeowners association, but it's a boat owners association. Or it could be a homeowners association with boats being included in all of the stuff. I just mortgage and stuff like that. I'm just kind of wondering, like, if she was going. It sounded like she was going to the party as a visitor. Am I right, Patty? Miss Patricia, Miss Pattykins, longtime sub. Fill us in the chat, please, or in the comments, and let us know you're over there in this area. I know you've been following this really closely because it's like right in your backyard. Let us know your thoughts on this. Hi, everyone. Welcome in. I'm Carrie, and today we have a couple of case updates on ones that we've been following throughout 2024. The first one is Marshella Chidester. Now, her trial date is set for March of 2025. According to the court filings, she is seeking to have her case moved to a different court, and she wants some evidence removed from the record. Now, they recently had another hearing, and the judge gave the prosecutors until January 10th to respond to several motions filed by her and her attorneys. These motions included a request to move the trial to another court and a request for a hearing to discuss evidence she wants dropped from the record. This includes statements she made before she was read her Miranda rights. And according to court records, she has requested an evidentiary hearing to address that matter. Hi, everyone. Welcome in. I was actually hoping that we get to see this hearing this morning, but it doesn't look like they showed it live. I want to thank Patty for sending me this article to remind me that there is an update, at least in the media. Fox 2 did an article, and it looks like they've denied her request today. And the trial will be held in March. So let's go over this article from Fox 2 to kind of fill us in on what's going on. Marshella Chidester's trial for the deadly Swan Boat crash will be held in Monroe County Circuit Court. Judge Daniel White ruled on several motions, including a request to move the trial out of the county and put the trial on hold until a case involving her doctor concludes. Her attorney also wants some evidence tossed, and this request will be addressed at the trial in March. So her attorney says, if you take the blood alcohol level away, there's just nothing there. What the? Really? You practice that? Like you were preparing for trial and you thought that would be a smart thing to say. All right, so they wanted to get her out of Monroe County because I guess it's a smaller town. It's probably one of those places where a lot of people know everybody. I know there's a lot of rumors going around, and there's a lot of people at that boat club that are talking against her right now. Now, it says here that her doctor is facing unrelated criminal charges. That is interesting. So the one man that can say she has seizures and she has to take medications for it also has a shady background. That's not going to help her. Dr. Ram Garg is currently facing charges stemmed from a pill mill he was allegedly running out of his Taylor office. Well, there you go. According to the motion, Garg cannot testify in Chidester's trial because he has invoked his Fifth Amendment rights during his own trial. Interesting. In that same motion, her attorney has argued that the doctor who was treating her for neurological issues was grossly negligent. Oh, okay. Okay. Next, they're going to come into court and say that it was the children's fault. I'm not saying he wasn't negligent. He probably was. He probably was negligent. But come on. Come on now. Defense has now learned that it was gross negligence to have permitted and authorized the defendant to operate a motor vehicle due to her physical conditions and spasms that it causes. In addition to request, well, maybe it's probably not a good idea if she be drinking like that either, but he can't control that. Even if the doctor is shady and giving her medication she shouldn't have, which it sounds like he did, she still is the one that got in the car after drinking alcohol. In addition to requesting a delay in a new court for the trial, a motion was also filed requesting to exclude statements that she made to authorities before she was read her Miranda rights. Oh, you know what? This might be the piece they're talking about.
Chilling police body camera video that shows what happened just moments after the Swan Boat Club crash in April in Berlin Township. Video from April 20th shows 66-year-old Marshella Chidester driving her car into the boat club, killing 2 young siblings.
2, 10. 0 being like you're stone cold sober, you can drive perfectly. 10 being you're passed out drunk. Where do you think you're at right now? 7.
What happened? I passed out. Okay. Have you been feeling ill or anything like that? Yes. What kind of medical conditions do you have? Seizures. Seizures? Okay. Were you here for the party? No. What were you out here at the boat club for? Are you I was just coming down here. Okay. Oh my gosh, this is terrible. So you take medications for seizure, you said? Have you been drinking at all today? A little bit, yes. Okay. When's the last time you had something to drink? Probably half an hour ago. Half an hour ago? What did you drink? Wine.
I'm really eager to see what's going to be brought up in trial from all the witnesses that have been around her at these different bars that she goes to. There's already witnesses that were coming forward right after the event saying that it was well known that she was an alcoholic and how she'd stumble in and out of the bars all the time around there. Okay, let's finish this article. The prosecutors had until January the 10th to respond to the motion to move the trial and the motion to exclude evidence. The motion regarding the doctor was filed after that date was set at her last hearing. Her trial is scheduled for March the 3rd in Monroe County Circuit Court, and before that she'll be back in court on February the 10th to address the request to toss evidence. She might have just been in and out of court this morning, and that's probably why they didn't show it. But
this is police body camera footage showing a deputy talking to 66-year-old Marshella Chidester minutes after she drove her car into the Swan Boat Club in Berlin Township on April 20th, tragically killing 2 young siblings and injuring a dozen others. Leading up to this moment, day 1 of her preliminary examination, it has been debated whether or not Chidester was under the influence of alcohol or not. Of the 7 witnesses so far, 1 officer testified that Chidester could not count backwards after the crash. He also testified that she had gabapentin in her system that day. When Chidester crashed into the boat club, a birthday party was going on. 4-year-old Zane and 8-year-old Alana Phillips were killed.
So let's go over here to what's going on with the bar owner. Apparently before the accident, she was at a different tavern drinking during the day. So according to the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, at around 3 p.m. was when the incident happened. The mother of the children has filed a negligent lawsuit against the bar who was serving her and also Chidester. Deputies allege that Chidester got into her car after drinking at Verna's Tavern, and she drove into the boat club. Attorney John R. Marco of the Marco Law Firm filed a lawsuit with the mom against Chidester and the tavern. Now, the lawsuit they filed is under the dram shop law, which allows an impacted person to hold a business liable for selling booze to a visibly drunk customer. As a result of the acts and or omissions of the employees and or agents of the defendant, Verna's Tavern, Chidester was able to continue drinking in the public establishment until the time she left and ultimately crashed her car into the Swan Boat Club. The lawsuit argues that the bar should have stopped serving her, kick her out of the bar, and provide her an alternate means of transportation. Now, the attorney that's representing the bar said that facts were still being gathered. This was back in April of 2024 when Law and Crime reported that there was a lawsuit, the civil lawsuit. And again, her attorney saying she had one glass of wine at the bar and a bowl of chili 4 hours prior to the accident. That's why he wants that all to get thrown out, because what did she say in that last statement? She said she had a glass of wine 30 minutes ago. She's not a monster. Rather, she suffers seizures that cause paralysis in her legs while she's driving. He said this is the reason why she lost control of her car. Now, the blood alcohol level, the legal limit, is 0.08. And again, she was at 0.18. Now, one of the prosecutors said she's a danger to the community, and she's left 2 children unalived. The judge did set her bond for $1.5 million, and she did get out.
ELHATFIELD. I'm a brother, uncle to the 2 deceased. Yes. This is the family.
Can you start by telling us a little bit about
They were full of joy. I mean, they were babies. I mean, what more can you really say? They were babies. They didn't have a life yet. They just was on their adventure to starting life. You know, I personally have not been able to experience their joys due to family, but we are here as one. I'm gonna let the family speak more on that. I'm here on behalf of my brother that's in the hospital, that's still with his child, that's still fighting every day. He has asked that he is allowed the peace and the space to heal and to deal with what has happened, as he's not even truly faced the true battles yet. This family is still in an uproar, as nobody has yet faced the true demon that's still to come. And it's even harder that we're standing less than 100 yards from the person who done it. You know, it's an emotional roller coaster.
That being said, knowing that this woman is released, how does that add to all of it?
It makes it hard. It makes it hard. I mean, these babies haven't even had a burial, a service yet, and this lady's drinking coffee at home with her family, with her loved ones. And this family's left with questions and feeling as if the system has failed us. I mean, we've heard the seizures in the prelim, and you know, state law requires at least a minimum of 6 months without a seizure. So why was she behind the wheel in the first place? Is it because of her connections? Is it because of her money? You know, we don't know. So we got to wait and let the system do its procedures. We just hope they don't fail us this time, as we've seen numerous.
You know, he said that about her money. I wonder if she did have a lot of money, because, well, I guess maybe she lived on the water right there, but her bail was 1.5 mil, and she got out on bail. That's not like, that's a lot of money, you guys. What, even if it's 10% that she only 10% that she has to pay, that's still a lot of money. I don't know. I'll continue on.
Drunk drivers walk away with a slap on their wrist after they've killed people. Let's just hope that these 2 babies' lives are not one of those statistics. Let's hope that we truly get justice for once. You know, I really feel like the system, and our family really feels like the system has failed in multiple occasions before. And we just ask, and we believe we've made some good friends, and we really hope that everything that we're fighting for is going to stick and it's going to stand. And we really appreciate the media's coverage. We really hope it puts the pressure down, and we really hope it brings light to drunk drivers and the effects that it has on more than one life. You don't understand the pain. I personally will never forget the feeling, the cries from a grown man when he finds out his kids have been taken from him. There's not much you can say. You can't say it's going to be okay. It's got to work. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask, what has been the support from the community been like this week?
It's actually been amazing. The GoFundMe has really took off. It's really going to help the family. The funeral home, there has been a couple of them, I believe, that has offered to do services for us. But like I said, there's not been arrangements made yet. We're still waiting on people to get out of the hospitals and healthy enough to even do anything. But the community service and the community support is really helpful. But again, as my brother's wishes, he does wish to keep his privacy, to keep his peace, and to keep his space at this time. I did talk to him, asked him if he did want to speak and come. He's not ready. When he is, we will let you guys know, and you guys will have your chance. But he just asked to please give him his space and allow him and his family and his child to still heal from what has happened.
What do you want everyone to remember about this two?
My name is Nicholas Phillips, NICHOLASPHILLIPS. I'm the uncle and the brother of the family this happened to. Zane, he was still a baby himself. He sitting on his dad's phone, sitting here playing Roblox and watching Cocomelon. That's what he loved to do. And now that it's taken from him, he's not even going to be able to go to a school like how every child should be. He's not going to get that normal life that every child wants. And Alana, that little princess is never gonna have the joy of going back to her dad's basketball games. That brought that girl so much joy. She used to love just sitting there being next to her dad, talking with her dad. That was her thing. That girl loved her dad. Awesome. Her with school. She's never gonna be able to go to that prom. She's never gonna have that ball. She's never gonna have that wedding that she deserves. How is this fair to her? I don't understand how a justice system can give a woman like that bail. She's 66 years old. Like all of us here that are adults, we read prescription labels. The doctors tell us this. They even tell you this: do not operate a motor vehicle, not alone drink. I'm pretty sure all of y'all are responsible adults. I'm pretty sure all y'all know not to drink, even just a little bit, while taking some prescribed medication. You should not do it. And for that caused a lot of damage to my family.
Nicholas, can you walk us through Saturday and just what they were doing right moments before this happened?
From my understanding, they were sitting there about to grab food. They're literally grabbing food, about to sit down at a table when that car did not even hit a brake light. kept going straight and ran right into him. That's not right. They was just trying to eat. They was sitting there about to have cake and ice cream. Had a birthday party. They was at a birthday party and closed doors. Like I told when I was in court, when that defense attorney brought up the highway, that's the complete accident all day. But that right there, that's somewhat deliberate. You cannot tell me otherwise. You can't.
Unless there's anything else that anybody wants to say, we'll let you guys meet. Can you just update us about the child still in the hospital, Jaden?
Yes. Jaden Phillips is still in the hospital. He is doing so much better. Not somewhat better, but still fighting. His leg is still not the same. His face is still all beaten up. It's like looking at a bruised face that's been hit over 1,000,000 times. It's hard to even see him.
What would you guys say to the woman driving the car?
I'm gonna let my brother answer that.
Honestly, we ain't even gonna give her that glory. We ain't even gonna address her. As much as we want to, and as much as we have a lot of things and a lot of emotions and a lot of hatred towards that, I don't even feel like she deserves that. She don't even deserve the acknowledgement of this. So for that, I don't think we need to comment on her. One thing I'm gonna say is I just pray and hope that everything works out in the justice system and they, for once, show justice and that don't allow these two names right here to be forgotten. And we also can't forget about the other victims. There were a lot of other victims here, not only that were injured, but there were other people here that was here and experienced a terrible scene. My wife and kids showed up 2 minutes afterwards and for this birthday party. And for my wife to call me and tell me what's going on, she said it was like a Final Destination movie. How do you move past that? How can you forget that? So we just hope that the system does their job, and we thank everybody for their support, and we just ask for peace. Thank you.
Quick case update. The Swan Boat Club accident. I don't want to say if I call it an accident, tragedy, where two siblings were unalived and their mother was also injured and their brother was also injured, their older brother. And we already knew that the judge had ruled on the fact that her statements made to police on the scene of the accident could be used in court. So those are going to be admissible. But what we were waiting to find out from the judge, and thank you, Patty, for bringing this to my attention, was whether or not he was going to allow her blood alcohol level to be admissible. So her lawyer is claiming that her blood sample was not properly handled. So it shouldn't be allowed into court. Okay, nice try. Any good defense attorney is going to do that, right? According to authorities, the 67-year-old had a blood alcohol level of 0.18 when she crashed into the Swan Boat Club, unaliving the two children. So today, Friday, a judge ruled that, yes, we can use her blood alcohol level in the trial. I mean, hello, I have a hard time believing the judge wouldn't have kept that in anyway, because it's such a big piece to the trial. If she hadn't been drinking, this probably would have never happened. So her attorney wanted a hearing before the trial to address this whole part about the blood alcohol level not being allowed in, and the judge denied that. So then her attorney requested that the issue not be discussed in front of the jury. And the judge says, no, we deny that too. Potential alcohol use was also an issue brought up during Friday's hearing. Oh, wow. Oh my gosh, you guys. I just got to this part. Okay. She's still drinking. Today, she's still drinking this week. She has an alcohol monitoring tether on her. And it says potential alcohol use was also an issue brought up today during the hearing because last week her alcohol monitoring tether was obstructed twice for 12 hours each time. Her attorney said those obstructions were caused by leg swelling that went down, causing the tether to be loose. Yeah, the leg swelling, just like the seizures, right? The judge said he's not sure about ordering her to be tested for alcohol prior to the hearing. But that's going to be very interesting. So look, if she's an alcoholic, you guys, she's going to still be drinking. That's no surprise. Now, to go even deeper into this, if you haven't been following this case, the doctor that was prescribing her medication for her seizures, quote unquote seizures, he has been arrested and is currently undergoing trial for running a pill mill. So they're wanting his trial to be over and done with before they go into her trial. So that's kind of why they delayed it a little bit. The deputy on the scene said that she had failed a field sobriety test. She couldn't maintain her balance. She had watery, bloodshot eyes, and she smelled like alcohol. Her defense attorney is the one that wanted to push back the trial because until the doctor's trial with the pill mill thing is over, he's invoked his Fifth Amendment rights in regards to her case. I don't see him helping her any. If they bring him in, they've got to be able to put it on the record that he just got charged for this. Whether he got convicted or not, it's a whole nother thing. They could say, even if he doesn't get convicted for it, they could say he was charged but not convicted for a pill mill. To me, that whole credibility thing with that witness is shot to hell and back, even if that's brought up at all. So that's going to be interesting to see what's going to go on there. Trial comes up on March 3rd. I really am ready to stream this trial with you guys. This is a tragic case, and we've watched this from the very beginning. Stay tuned, you guys. This is an interesting case. It's going to be nice to watch justice come through on this one. It really is. And pray for the families as well. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please do not forget to like and subscribe on your way out, and feel free to leave a comment. Have a blessed day.